first time that we get to throw to Chicago Live happening at 1 o'clock. So exciting.
We'll see you back here for the 4 and the 5.
Welcome to Chicago Live. I'm Casey Cronus, and it's an exciting day for us here. Since last year, we have brought this show to you on our digital platforms, but today we are also coming to you on broadcast on Fox 32. We have candid, deep discussions with an array of interview subjects all afternoon. We're happy to have you along for the ride and look forward to the many great discussions that we will have. With that, let's get started. We begin with a piece of a SpaceX rocket that is seemingly on its way to collide with the moon. I want to introduce our first guest, Mike Zevin, an astrophysicist with the Adler Planetarium. Mike, thank you for being with us.
Thanks for having me on.
So, Mike, please explain for us. Describe, how does this happen? This sounds serious.
Yeah, well, I mean, it would be serious if we had people with boots on the moon right now. Of course, the moon isn't inhabited, so something crashing down into the moon isn't going to hurt anybody. But this is kind of a word of warning for the future when we are planning to have people on the moon. The Artemis missions are setting us up to have a permanent human presence on the moon, and we need to be careful to not have things like this go awry and crash down on them.
And I understand this has only happened, is it one other time in the past?
One other time by accident. This was also an accident. We have impacted things into the moon to test things like the seismic activity on the moon and study the moon's interior. But those were purposeful collisions that were made. So this is the second time that this has happened by accident.
So paint the picture for our viewers at home. Where was that SpaceX rocket headed? Was it done with its mission when a piece of debris accidentally flew off into space?
Yes, the rocket was actually sending things to the moon. One of the things that it sent was Dragonfly's Blue Ghost lander, which was the first commercial spacecraft to do a landing on the moon. That piece of the rocket is something that isn't used anymore, so it would have been floating around in space. Typically, you can put them in an orbit that wouldn't lead to a collision like this, but it just so happened that something was a little bit off, and months later, this thing is heading towards the moon, and we'll be colliding with it in 2 days.
Okay, and you're keeping a close eye on it, I'm sure. How will you continue to track this? And what happens when it does make impact with the moon?
So, as you might expect, it's going to make a boom. It's going to make a crater. It's going to impact with about the force of, I think it's about 3 tons of TNT. This thing will be traveling at 5,000 miles per hour when it collides, which will leave behind a sizable crater, something that could be 60 or 100 feet across on the moon. This isn't something that you'll probably be able to see with binoculars or even with a telescope, but we have orbiters around the moon that are monitoring the surface of the moon and are going to get before and after images that'll let you see what crater this piece of debris created.
Did you say you will be able to see it with a telescope, or you likely won't?
No, you likely won't. So, I mean, on a 100-foot crater seems like something that's quite big.
Yeah.
The moon is also quite far away, and the flash of light that it's going to create is going to be really a split second. The only hope of maybe seeing something is if a significant amount of debris pops up from the crater after the impact, and the place that it's going to be hitting is kind of on this one location of the moon where we might be able to see some of that debris in the backdrop of kind of more dark space. So that's a possibility, and that might be for tens of minutes after the impact happens. But seeing the flash of light from the impact itself probably is something that we won't be able to do from here on Earth.
What exactly, do we know what piece broke off, and how big is the actual piece of debris that is making its way to the surface of the moon?
Yeah, so this was part of the upper portion of the rocket, and it's about 40 feet in size and about 10,000 pounds or so.
Wow. Okay.
So this is, a sizable chunk of things. It's sizable, and to give you a little bit of perspective, this is about the size of the size of it itself is about the size of a 5-story building.
Oh wow! Okay, this is big. What will happen when it hits the surface? Will it bust apart?
Yeah, it'll certainly bust apart, and the estimates for the crater are based on its weight and the speed that we know that it's going. Like I said, it might be something between like 60 and 100 feet across, so something that orbiters will be able to actually see. the before and after kind of image of where there wasn't a crater and now there is this new little crater on the moon.
And what happens when a new crater like this is created? Is it there permanently for the end of time?
For the end of time might be a stretch, but for very, very, very long amounts of time, yes. So we all have seen the moon before. It's kind of pockmarked with all these craters. A lot of them happened billions of years ago during an early period of chaos in our solar system, something called the period of great bombardment, of heavy bombardment, and those kind of stay there. So we don't have any atmosphere on the moon. There's no geologic or tectonic activity. So when something makes a mark, it's sticking there for a very, very, very long time. Same goes, for example, for the footprints of the Apollo astronauts. You can still go to the moon if you wanted to and actually see the footprints that Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin and the other Apollo astronauts made.
And as we do continue space exploration along with other nations around the world, how much junk, how much debris is just up there floating around in space? And is that something that scientists continue to monitor? Do scientists know, okay, we've got some debris over this way, we've got others over this way?
It's a very big problem. This is kind of a case that's a little more of an odd one because this is something striking the moon. But if we take a step back and just think about low Earth orbit, so the 100 to 200 miles above the Earth's surface, we now have over 13,000 active satellites in that region. And that includes things like the International Space Station where astronauts are, the Hubble Space Telescope. But with the new kind of mega constellations that are being launched, for example, SpaceX's array of satellites, that introduced about 10,000 new satellites into low Earth orbit. Now, if we do a very good job of tracking where all these things are and trying to avoid any kind of collisions between these, that's great. But accidents do happen. In the past, there have been 2 satellites that have accidentally collided. And then when 2 satellites collide, moving at tens of thousands of miles per hour, now you have tens of thousands of little pieces of satellite that are flying around like shrapnel in low Earth orbit. So this is a big problem. This is something we need to be very cognizant of because otherwise we might pollute our area right around Earth so much that it would be hard to actually send anything out into space at all.
That is so interesting that you put it that way, polluting our, solar system, because we think about polluting our water, polluting our air, but to have to consider one day needing to essentially clean up outer space, perhaps this will be a profession one day.
Sure could be. I mean, one of the things that we hope that satellites are doing now is have a dedicated plan for end of life cycle. So whether that's coming back through the atmosphere and getting burnt up, but just removing them from this very more and more crowded region right above the Earth atmosphere, that's going to be something that we really need to think about. I mean, in the past few years, we've amplified the number of satellites that we have up there, especially with things like Starlink and these mega constellations. So we need to be very careful about not having a runaway effect that's going to prevent us from sending more things and sending astronauts into space.
And Mike, you mentioned that there was one other occasion where this accidentally happened. I read that it was back in 2022, but on the dark side of the moon. So does that mean that we don't have any images of the crater that was created in that case?
So there actually could be images of it. So one kind of misnomer is that there is no dark side of the moon. All parts of the moon, for the most part, get illuminated. It's just the side that we see or the side that we don't see. So this impact happened at the far side of the moon, which means we wouldn't be able to see anything from here on Earth. But we do have satellites that are orbiting the moon and seeing both the far side and the near side of the moon.
Okay, great. And now I want to shift gears a little bit. There was so much excitement around the Artemis 2 mission. Did you guys at the Adler Planetarium see a big uptick in foot traffic around that time and since then?
Oh, we sure did. We had a kind of pop-up event out of nowhere just to watch the launch of it. The landing happened a little bit after museum hours, so we didn't see the return and the splashdown when the museum was open, but all of us were watching very intently. And we've added new content. We have an exhibit in our museum that really highlights the Apollo missions and the path to the moon for the first time. But now, since we're going back there again after over 50 years, there's a lot of excitement and just lots of new fun things to share. And the astronauts themselves are just very interesting people to follow, as people know when they were following them over their 10-day journey to the moon and back.
Absolutely. And finally, as an astrophysicist, what excites you the most as we look ahead to space travel?
What excites me the most is that we're really pushing the envelope again and really trying to explore new boundaries once again. It really blows my mind that the last Apollo mission, the last people to step foot on the moon on Apollo 17 was 1972. That's over 50 years ago. And since then, we haven't just not gone to the moon. We haven't sent people outside of low Earth orbit, a couple hundred miles right above the surface. So we've really been contained to this region right close to our planet for the past 50 years. And starting with the Artemis missions and starting with a permanent base on the moon, it's going to be a jumping off point for exploring deeper into the solar system. Places like Mars are going to be kind of the next big step once we get the moon in order.
Mike, thank you so much for your insight. Okay, so this piece of debris scheduled to hit, you said on Wednesday. Do we know roughly what time?
Early hours in the morning Eastern time, I believe. So, like I said, probably not something that you would be able to see with the naked eye or with binoculars. It could be that some telescopes here on Earth might be able to see this debris plume come up. And just to give you the exact time, it's 2:35 a.m. Eastern on August 5th.
Excellent. Okay, so we'll wake up to the news.
Yeah.
Mike, thank you so much. Really great to have you.
Thanks for having me on. Take care.
Thanks. Before we head to a break, we do want to bring you out to the White House, where President Donald Trump is expected to sign an executive order. It has not yet been announced what the order is for, but let's take a listen in.
To return to fully free navigation of
It has to be. I'm not going to let them charge. If anybody's going to charge, we'll charge. We're the one that has total control. We have total control. You know, we have a thing called a blockade with his Navy. And that Navy is, they call it a wall of steel, the United States wall of steel. And no, there's not going to be charging. We're not talking about charging at all. There won't be charging. Yeah, please, in the back.
President, you said last week that illegal immigration...
Who are you with?
GB News. You said that illegal immigration is killing the UK. Nigel Farage today has proposed the use of the Royal Navy to combat small boats crossing the Channel. Do you think that European nations, including the UK, should be using their militaries to stop illegal immigration?
Look, you have to stop illegal immigration in Europe. I know Europe better than anybody, better than the people that run it. And I have great relationships here. Two things are killing Europe. Number one is immigration. Number two is energy. Like the UK, when you look at the UK, they have one of the best energy fields in the world, North Sea oil. Now, I think your new prime minister is going to actually open up from what I hear, I spoke to him, and he sounded terrific on this subject. But you open it up, you'll be a wealthy country. You keep it closed, you're going to be a bankrupt country, which is what you are now. Essentially, you're a bankrupt country. You have one of the greatest energy fields, the North Sea oil, one of the greatest fields in the world. You know, the UK buys its energy from Norway, who gets the energy from the North Sea, from not as vibrant a part of the North Sea oil was. You're sitting on top of gold, better than gold, and you don't do anything with it. It doesn't work. You don't allow the oil companies in, and it doesn't work. And I spoke with your new prime minister. I was very impressed, and he sort of indicated to me, I said, look, you can be a wealthy country or a bankrupt country. You have your choice. Not every country has that choice. Almost no country has that choice. But in the case of the UK, Scotland, I'm talking about Scotland, right off the shore, in Aberdeen, Scotland. Aberdeen was the oil capital of Europe for years. And then one day the Liberals got in and they closed it. And your energy rates have quadrupled. You have among the highest energy prices in the world. You could cut them in half. You could give away free energy if you'd open up the North Sea. And it's good for another 500 years, maybe more, probably 1,000 years.
Has our new Prime Minister restored your faith in the leadership of Britain? Or has our new Prime Minister restored your faith in the leadership of Britain, or do you think it's too late?
Look, I think we're going to have a very good relationship. We'll see. I'm not going to tell him how to run his country. But I can tell you, immigration is an incredible problem for Europe. You're allowing people in that in many cases are not going to help you. I'm going to be nice. They're not going to help you. And the people that are there, people from your country, people from other countries that have been there for a long time and did a great job, beautiful place. You know, look, I love it. You know, my parents both came from Europe indirectly. So a German Scott. And, you know, it's like one of those things. It's very sad. When I see what's happening to Europe, it's very sad to me. But they have a problem with immigration. They have a problem with energy. You have windmills all over the place. Windmills, you lose your shirt. Any country with windmills is a loser, okay? You just have to look. If they have windmills, they're a loser. Because you lose money with windmills.
Mr. President.
Yeah, please, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Go ahead, who are you with?
John Fergus Media.
Yeah, that's right.
Original name.
What was your name before?
John Fergus.
Go ahead, John.
Mark. Two domestic questions, sir. The first one is Exxon and Chevron, integrated all U.S., just announced record profits second quarter. Unbelievable. For Exxon, for instance, 14 billion has they've had in over a decade. For Chevron for the quarter, highest in history.
By 12 times.
On the backs.
You saw that?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's unbelievable. On the backs.
I don't like it.
Workers paying higher gas.
Yeah.
They're
making too much money. Okay. Based on a shortage, they're making too much money. I don't like it. And I should be the last one to say, because I'm a big free enterprise guy. Nobody bigger. And, you know, you're going to see oil when we're finished with Iran. You're going to see the prices drop through the floor. But they made too much money. Too much money. Chevron, too much money. ExxonMobil, too much money. When you look at one company where they made 12 times what they made the year before, they're going to give some of that back to the public. And they better cut the retail price, the consumer price. Too much money. You're surprised I'm saying it? I'll say it loud and clear. I'm not happy about it. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Just one. For those of us here that live in Washington, D.C. with our families like I do, the renaissance of the city that you've been able to do in 18 months is incredible.
I hope you heard did you hear that, everybody? The renaissance of Washington, D.C. in 15, 16 months is incredible, and it is. It's clean, it's safe, and you haven't seen anything yet. We're replacing all of the grass that hasn't been replaced in the fields, all the beautiful fields where the grass is. You know, grass is like humans. It has a life. This grass hasn't been changed in 100 years. We're doing all the fields. We're doing most of the graffiti is moved. But the most important thing is it's been beautified. We did 78 monuments and fountains and waterfalls, and they went from being horrible, mostly graffiti said, most of them for 25 years never worked. They haven't worked. And it's a renaissance, like you use the word renaissance, but it's a renaissance. But the biggest thing is we have very little crime now. This was the crime capital, frankly, of the world. It was the most unsafe capital of any country in the world. Now it's one of the safest, and it's one of the safest places in the United States. And people are coming down. You see it, the tourism in Washington, everyone's safe now. Nobody's getting mugged, shot. We used to lose 3 people a week, death. That's the least, I mean, it's 3 people in terms of death. 150 people a year were killed. They come down from Iowa, they come from Indiana. Mom, I'm looking at the Washington Monument. I'm looking at, and they end up getting killed. You call their parents, I'm sorry. Doesn't happen anymore. We don't have that anymore. We're rough, but we don't have that anymore. Our military has been unbelievable, and they work very well with the D.C. police, but our military came in, the general, people that we know so well, General, right? They don't play games, and we got the gangs out. We removed almost 5,000 people who were career criminals who came in with...
You were just listening in to a press conference following President Donald Trump signing an executive order in the Oval Office there. That executive order creates a commission to assist military families. It will be chaired by Jennifer Hegseth, the wife of Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth. That commission will advise on child care, employment, housing, and health care for military families. Stay with us here on Chicago Live. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Get an 11% rebate at
Welcome back to Chicago Live. Switching now to the Chicago Bears. Training camp started last week. We want to bring in our very own Devin Caney, who is live at Hallis Hall. Hi, Devin.
Hi, how's it going?
Good. So we need to start with this injury that happened this morning. One of the team's significant offseason additions, Kobe Bryant, had to leave practice early today. What do we know?
Yeah, so really unfortunate. Safety Kobe Bryant, fresh off a Super Bowl win with the Seattle Seahawks, comes in as their biggest offseason addition, especially on a defense that lost a lot of its secondary that led the league in takeaways last season. He went down during one-on-ones today. Today was their first full padded practice of training camp. He went down in a one-on-one with Cole Kmet, and it looked like he was grabbing his left leg. He tried to walk off the field and then was carted off the field. He did leave practice early. Now, I should say they were practicing on fields that were a little bit farther away than there are two options, basically. They have two fields that are really close to the facility and two that are farther away. So regardless, he probably would have had to be carted off. I just want to say that so people don't panic. Now, wide receiver of all people, Rome Odunze, went on another program after practice, and he told Kay Adams that he thinks that Kobe Bryant will be fine. Now, we haven't gotten any official word. We probably won't until we hear from head coach Ben Johnson again Thursday morning.
Okay, we do hope, of course, that it is just a minor setback. Was he going to be starting this fall?
Yes, yeah. I mean, by all means, and from everything we could take away from training camp, he was getting first team reps. He also, was coming in fresh off winning a Super Bowl, off being a world champion and coming in with that knowledge and that wisdom. And he said he wanted to be a leader for this defense that is on the younger side, especially playing alongside rookie Dylan Thieneman, who was just drafted. Now, Dylan is having a great camp and he looks good, but he's going into his first ever season in the NFL. Now, Cam Lewis rotated in once Kobe Bryant left the field today. They're still very thin at safety, and really the entire secondary of the Bears defense is pretty thin at this point.
Okay, we do hope to get an official update soon, as you mentioned. What's the energy been like at training camp? And I believe today is that community day. What's going on there today?
I mean, it's a beautiful day. It's sunny. Energy has been great. Now, all of last week, the offense and Caleb Williams was really dominating most practices. I think that changed a bit on Saturday. Now, of course, weather played a factor. It was a bit rainy today. Wasn't the case. Very sunny and hot out there. It looked like it was kind of an even split today in one-on-ones. Now, one-on-ones are really interesting because the guys will have their pads on so they can go, a little bit harder at each other, and it's a really good way to see, especially the defensive and offensive lines compete, especially when you look at that left tackle spot on the Bears O-line. You have several guys competing for one spot. Right now, Braxton Jones appears to be the front runner for that starting spot at left tackle, but it was really nice to see them really get into the action today on one-on-ones in full pads.
Okay, and Devin, we just heard from our producer Perry. Adam Schefter is saying Kobe will be out for 8 to 10 weeks. This is just in moments ago. What is your initial reaction to hearing that?
Oh, that is not good to hear. Absolutely. Honestly, devastating news for the Bears defense, and they spent a lot of their resources bringing him in because they lost Kevin Byard, who was a key veteran piece to this defensive backfield last season, to free agency, and we know what a key part of this defense he played last season. I think bringing in someone like Kobe and then losing him this early on, and I think that is probably the one silver lining here, is if it is 8 to 10 weeks, you can hope that you get him back in time to push for a postseason run. That being said, I would imagine the Bears at this point have to look outside the organization because they are, like I said, extremely thin in the secondary, and particularly when it comes to that starting safety spot that I suppose is now open for the next several weeks.
Yeah, just devastating news. And I'll read this post on X for our viewers here. Adam Schefter, ESPN senior NFL insider, writes that Kobe Bryant is expected to be sidelined 8 to 10 weeks due to a hyperextended knee, bone bruise, and small fracture that he suffered, but no surgery is expected to be needed. Oh, just a really hard way to start things off.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's good that he won't need surgery. It's good that it doesn't seem like it's going to be hopefully an ongoing issue, right? Like something with soft tissue or anything he will have to rehab heavily for or from. That being said, you know, losing someone who you bring in who's fresh off winning a Super Bowl, not great, not a great situation for the Bears defense.
Well, Devin, let's end things on just a lighter note. But we heard it was rumored that Jason Sudeikis was he at practice today?
If he was, I would be very upset that I missed him.
Okay, perhaps not.
I haven't heard or seen him. Let me take you. Let's break the fourth wall. Jeff, my photographer, lovely photographer here. Jeff, did you see Jason Sudeikis? I did not. He did not.
Okay.
And Jeff sees everything because he's got that zoom on his camera lens. Okay, so
Jeff sees it all.
Yeah, we did not, but
okay, all right. Well, we will look out for more reports. Perhaps he was in disguise. Devin, thank you so much for chatting with us here on Chicago Live.
Of course, thanks, guys.
Thanks. All right, stay with us. We will be right back. We'll see you on the other side of this break. Welcome back to Chicago Live. The time is now 1:30 on this Monday afternoon. Our next guest is here to chat all things race for Chicago mayor. Let's bring in Jake Sheridan from the Chicago Tribune. Hi, Jake.
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for having me on.
Great. Thank you for being with us. So as we all know, we've talked about it all yesterday and all morning today, but Secretary of State Alexei Giannoulias now officially throwing his hat in the ring. This did not come as a surprise, but break down for us what this means for the race for mayor.
You know, this is a huge entry, and you're right. It's absolutely not a surprise. Giannoulias had $22 million in his campaign account. It's the biggest war chest of any candidate at this point, probably ever in a mayor's race in Chicago. But it's a huge entrance. He is one of the front runners without a doubt. You know, he has the backing not only of buildings trades unions, but also of some really powerful Chicagoans like Michael Sachs, other strong business-connected people. There were also 6 aldermen there yesterday. It's a sign that he's going to have a lot of support from Alderman 2. All of that together shows he's probably the best supported candidate at the moment.
And, you know, it was interesting. Yesterday, I interviewed Tom Seraphin, a local political consultant, and he did point out that while he does have a lot of backing, the last 2 mayoral races, the person with the biggest dollar amount didn't end up winning. What does the person who ends up mayor need to do over these next several months? Is it door knocking? Is it more fundraising? Is it those ads? What do you think will pull out the winner on this one?
You know, if I was a high school student answering that question, I think it'd be D, all of the above, you know? You got to do everything. You got to do everything. And there are different ways to get everything. Alexei actually does have some boxes checked. So not only does he have a ton of money, he also has those kind of neighborhood organizations through aldermen who are coming online. And he also has, you know, the unions. They give him those foot soldiers to go and knock on doors. The money does that too, to some extent. And you know, it's certainly true. We saw this in the recent congressional elections. Money doesn't always get you the win, but it gets you in the door. And that's really important in this race. And it can buy you things like more people to knock on doors and even influence over aldermen that helps you get their folks to go knock for you. So it's a very helpful thing. And this is kind of almost a different level of money, too. It's a lot.
Yep. And so many other people have put their name on the ballot for this. Maria Pappas told us on Chicago Live that she will be running for mayor. She has yet to make a formal, official announcement. Do you expect that to come sometime soon?
You know, I would expect it to come from her sometime in the next couple of months. She certainly told me that as well. You know, a second Greek entering the race. But, you know,
Yeah.
she will be an interesting candidate. You know, that there's just so many people running, you know, and like, you know, Maria Pappas is someone who a lot of people in Chicago do know, kind of like Mike Quigley, holding an office that people know of and respect, has experience. But there are a lot of candidates like that. So it's going to be interesting to see when people make the decision. They don't want to get boxed out.
Absolutely. And some candidates, several candidates, Janulius included, will continue to run for re-election in their current position while also running for mayor. Do you think that could complicate things, confuse voters at all?
Well, I don't know if it'll confuse voters. It could frustrate some voters. You know, I think it does raise some questions for a lot of people over, you know, who are you trying to work for and what are your goals and intentions? Alexei Janulius yesterday answered a question about that by saying, you know, when I'm applying for a job, I don't quit my current one. Whether voters like that answer or not, that's up to them.
Jake, thank you so much. Any other insight you want to share with our viewers before we let you go?
You know, I just think it's going to be an incredibly interesting race. It's, you know, it's already crowded. It's only going to get more crowded. You know, one thing that I noticed last week that I think is really important is the entrance of lobbyist John Kelly. He's sort of a dark horse, but he has a really interesting lane. You know, I think he could kind of run a campaign that's pretty similar to Paul Vallis's. If you watched his launch video, all of the policies he talked about were about strengthening police, giving police more power, adding police officers. And I think, you know, there is an electorate in Chicago that wants that. And so the question is there enough there to get him into a runoff? The answer is certainly not a hard no. It's a real possibility. So he's one to keep an eye on.
And his wife apparently has almost 1 million followers on social media. So that is in John Kelly's back pocket as well.
It's also something that could be troubling for Chicago voters, too. You know, she is pretty conservative, Trump aligned in some of her talking points. And you saw when he declared, actually, a number of Trump surrogates went and shared their support for his candidacy, I think kind of because of their connections to his wife. And so, you know, Trump isn't a very popular person among Chicago voters. You know, the president did not do very well. If America was Chicago only, wouldn't have won. So something to keep an eye on. It's a boon and also could be a wait. So.
Absolutely. It surely will be an interesting race to watch. Can't wait for the debates. That's for sure.
It's going to be fun.
All right, Jake, thank you so much for joining us. Before we head to our next break, we want to turn things now to the trial of Lindsay Clancy, which is underway. I believe this is her psychiatrist who she was seeing when she was in the hospital. Lindsay Clancy is accused of killing her 3 young children. Let's listen in.
It's your testimony that it was after she saw you? You don't know, do you?
My understanding is the surgery happened after I saw her.
Oh, the surgery did? I'm asking you about the massive transfusions. I'm asking you about the tubes being inserted so that the 300 milligrams or whatever it is of blood can be perfused or taken out of her chest can. I'm asking about whether or not you knew that she had coded. I'm not asking about the surgery. Obviously, that took place after you saw her, right?
Objection asked and answered.
No, overruled. Because that's why you were talking to her, right? To see if she could make an informed consent to a surgery, I guess.
No, I was called for the suicidal ideation.
Okay, I'm sorry. I thought you said that you wanted to talk to her about the surgery as well.
No.
The suicidal ideation continues to this day, does it not?
Objection.
Sustained.
Did the suicidal ideation that you were concerned about continue the time that she was in Brigham and Women's Hospital for a month?
I saw her one time.
Right, I know that. 20 minutes, right?
Yes.
Okay. So you know nothing about suicidal ideation after you saw her intubated and then laying in the bed, and then you talked to her as you've discussed with the jury, right?
That's correct.
That's it?
That's correct.
How about the cops? How many cops were there?
I don't recall.
There were some, right? There were armed men in that room, were there not?
I don't recall. I think they were outside the room, if I remember correctly, from 3 years ago.
Okay, I know it's been a while. Do you recall armed police officers being outside the room?
I think I don't recall.
Do you have any memory of any police officers being outside the room where she was laying in that bed?
I knew she was in custody, and generally in custody...
No, not generally. Let's talk about Lindsay Clancy.
I can't recall.
Okay. Did you know that she couldn't even have visitors in the sense that the police would not even let her mother or father visit with her?
I can't recall.
Did you know that when you were dealing with her, was she handcuffed to the side of the gurney or the stretcher?
She had a soft restraint, according to my documentation.
Soft restraints, okay.
Yes.
Did you have any conversation with the police at all?
No.
And after you spoke to her for 20 minutes, that really ended your involvement with Lindsay Clancy until today, right?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Redirect.
Doctor, when you were being asked about these records that you reviewed, what records did you review?
I reviewed the records in EPIC, which is our medical record at Brigham and Women's Hospital.
And so you didn't do a deep dive into Ms. Clancy's entire psychiatric history prior to coming to Brigham and Women's, correct?
I did, as you do, as is protocol for a consult, you look at the records and you make sure you have an understanding of what's been happening with the patient.
But did you have access at that time to all the records for all the treatment providers Ms. Clancy had seen regarding her mental health for the last 6 months?
You know, I don't even know. I had some of the records. I don't know if I had all of the records.
Okay. And so you reviewed what you had, correct?
Correct.
And then you met with the patient, correct?
Correct.
And in meeting with her, where she's had these events happen. She's had the tubes in her chest. She's about to go into surgery. One of the first things on her mind is, do I have a lawyer? Correct?
To that, move to strike that. First of all, it wasn't part of cross. Secondly, this is the fourth time the counsel has tried to accentuate that.
Overall, I'll allow that question. Go ahead.
Well, that was one of her first thoughts was, do I have a lawyer? Correct?
She wasn't able, she was exhausted. She was intubated. She could barely talk. She was writing and she was getting ready for surgery. And so those were the few questions that came up.
Right. She's exhausted. She's anxious. She's in pain. She's about to go in for surgery. And she wants to know, do I have a lawyer?
Sustained.
So given the condition she was in at that time, the defense counsel asked you about the pain she was in. Defense counsel asked you about the surgery she was about to go into. Those are the issues that she was focused on.
Yes.
In your conversation with her, am I broken? Are my legs straight?
Yes.
Do I have a lawyer?
Yes.
Thank you.
She wasn't focused on much while she was exhausted, in pain, anxious, and concerned about the future surgery that she was imminent, was she?
If you could speak up, ask that question.
Sorry. She wasn't focused on much of anything while she was exhausted, in pain, unable to talk, and anticipating imminent surgery, right?
That's correct.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Anything, Como?
No.
All right, thank you, Doctor.
Thank you. Thank you.
You were just listening in to the Lindsay Clancy trial out of Massachusetts. She is on trial for murdering her 3 young children. Her defense argues that she was taken over by postpartum psychosis. You just heard testimony from one of the physicians that treated her in the hospital. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
I got hurt in a car accident.
Welcome back to Chicago Live. Turning now to Wisconsin. Our neighbors to the north are early voting in the high-stakes primary for governor. We want to bring in my former colleague, Jason Calvi from Fox 6. Hey, Jason, thank you for being with us today to offer your insight on this topic.
Great to be here, Casey, on the first day here on TV, Fox 32.
Absolutely.
Great to be with you.
We're so happy to have you. So, Jason, break it down for us. Is early voting already underway?
Yeah, it's underway. It's been underway for 1 week, and it will be open until this upcoming weekend. So early voting is underway. About 105,000 people in Wisconsin have already turned in their absentee ballots. So this is a high-stakes primary where so much is on the line because Democrats are going to choose between 7 candidates on their ballot, though the field has really shrunk in recent weeks, but still 7 names on those ballots, and people are deciding really the future direction of the Wisconsin Democratic Party and who they want to see as their nominee. That's really the high-stakes race on people's ballots here in battleground Wisconsin.
And it's starting to gain national attention, this race. I mean, Wisconsin always is a hot spot. It's obviously one of our battleground states. But talk a little bit more about just why this race is gaining so much traction, and it really is heating up.
Yeah, it really, really is. And I think the key question for Democrats after 2024, when they lost the White House and many of those races they thought they were going to win, is what should the future direction of the Democratic Party look like moving forward? And there's been battles. You know, you saw the New York mayoral race. You've seen some of these primaries in some of the other big states this year. And the question is, what should the Democratic Party look like moving forward? And you've seen this battle for the soul of the future direction of the party playing out in those places I mentioned, and now it's playing out right here in battleground Wisconsin. The question is, do Democrats want somebody like Francesca Hong? She is a Democratic socialist, and right now the polls are showing her really dominating the field here in Wisconsin.
Yeah, tell us more about that candidate, Francesca Hong. What is she standing her campaign on?
I think she's a state representative, represents Madison. It's our capital city here in Wisconsin. And she's really been someone who I think appeals to the Democrats who have been calling for a fighter, someone who's going to challenge the status quo. And I think because of her background in the Democratic Socialists of America, she has called for various things over the years and she's been pretty vocal on social media. She's a millennial. She has not shied away from swearing on social media. That's kind of how she got some attention early on several years ago. And so she's calling for really changing fundamental politics of Wisconsin to try something new in light of what happened here when President Donald Trump re-won Wisconsin and really won all the swing states across the United States. So that's the big question, I think, right now for Democrats as they're weighing, is she the best pick to win the nomination and then face off against the Republicans in the fall?
And we know Governor Tony Evers has put his backing behind Milwaukee County Executive David Crowley. Do you see him having a strong chance this primary?
Yeah, I think that is still to be seen. We are seeing a lot of ads going up right now in support of David Crowley. And the governor, we have to say, Governor Tony Evers does appeal to a lot of Democrats. When you look at the polls here in Wisconsin, what they found is that Tony Evers is very well liked amongst Democrats. So I think the number is like 86% of Wisconsin Democrats have a favorable view of Governor Tony Evers, our Democratic governor here in the Badger State. And so if you think about that, and then you see a lot of the polls have shown a large number of people still undecided. In the most recent Marquette Law School poll, which is sort of our gold standard poll here in Wisconsin, it found more than 30% of Wisconsin Democrats said they were still undecided. So if you're undecided in Wisconsin, who do you turn to? And if you have such a high view of the current sitting Democratic governor, you might look to him and say, okay, who should I vote for? And he's endorsing Milwaukee County Executive David Crowley. Now, we've seen Crowley in poll after poll kind of trailing way behind Francesca Hong. But again, when you have 30+% of Wisconsin Democrats saying they're undecided, there's still room for potential growth here in his numbers to see what people actually pick. And as Charles Franklin, the pollster here at Marquette Law School, what he says again and again, it's not polls that vote, it's people who vote.
And you have reported that there are some Republicans that have potentially been getting involved in the Democratic Party. Walk us through this.
Yeah. So it's been the largest ad buy here in Wisconsin during the Democratic primary, the largest ad buy. If you look at all the numbers people have spent on television and radio, the largest ad buy is actually from the Republican Governors Association. And one of their groups, their affiliated groups here in Wisconsin, have been up with more than $3.5 million in ads. And if you look at the ads, they look like an attack ad against Francesca Hong. But you have to look very closely at the timing. They started these ads about 4 weeks before the Democratic primary. And they also use kind of words that might be favorable to some or many Democratic primary voters. One of the things that the ads say is Francesca Hong opposes the deportation policies of President Donald Trump. So yeah, it's an attack ad against Francesca Hong, but it definitely sounds like maybe they're trying to present her. Why? Because I think some or many Republicans see Francesca Hong as an easier to beat candidate.
Sure.
So if she does win the nomination, they say maybe it would be easier to beat. And that's what we did find in the Marquette poll when they did head-to-head matchups between the Democratic candidates and the Republican candidate, who's Congressman Tom Tiffany. They found that Tiffany would beat Francesca Hong. So I think at the end of the day, Republicans see it as potentially see her as an easier pickoff, maybe because of some of those past social media tweets. For example, in 2020, tweeting out defund the police. So they think that maybe they could potentially use those sorts of old messages from Francesca Hong to appeal to swing state voters here in Wisconsin and potentially vote against the Democrats and vote for the Republicans. But that will be what we'll decide in November. We'll see.
And Jason, tell us a little bit about, you've got about a week of early voting left. Primary is August 11th. What happens if candidates drop out before then? What happens to their early votes? Are they just gone?
Well, all of these candidates, there's 7 of them on the Democratic side who qualified to be on the primary ballot for Democrats, and several of them have dropped out. So that is former Lieutenant Governor, I know when you covered Wisconsin, Mandela Barnes. He just dropped out late last week. Then you had the current Lieutenant Governor, Sarah Rodriguez. She dropped out several weeks ago. And then you have the former Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation CEO, Missy Hughes. She dropped out. All 3 of those people are still on the ballot, and any votes they get still are valid. Now, in years past, you may remember that people in Wisconsin were able to do what's called spoiling their ballots. So in Wisconsin, your absentee ballot the envelope is not even opened until polls open on election day at 7 a.m. So what happened in the past is, let's say your candidate dropped out of the race last minute and you'd already early voted for a particular candidate. You could go to your clerk's office, say, hey, can you pull my ballot out? Let's rip it up. And then give me a new one. That's called spoiling, and that's been the process for many years here in Wisconsin. Up until this year, in July, the Wisconsin Elections Commission voted to say no more spoiling of ballots. So starting in July of 2026, though that process of asking for a redo on your absentee ballot no longer allowed here in Wisconsin. So what does that mean for people that voted for these 3 candidates that got out of the race? It's tough luck, I guess.
Wow. And Jason, before we let you go, explain how this might impact us here in Illinois.
Yeah, I think it's crucial race because it's looking at the future direction of the Democratic Party, and obviously your governor J.B. Pritzker is seen very widely that he's going to be potentially running for president in 2028. So is he up to the task of the future direction of the Democratic Party? Is your governor going to be the next nominee for the Democratic Party for president? That is a big question. Is Francesca Hong, this battle over democratic socialism and sort of more mainstream Democratic Party politics, that's playing out here in Wisconsin. It's going to definitely be playing out in 2028 down the road there in Illinois, and then that presidential nominating process for Democrats in 2028. But the other reason why I think people in Illinois should be paying attention to what's happening here in battleground Wisconsin is because a lot of you come up here for vacation. I see your cars all the time. You're coming up to Door County to go kayaking. You might have a cabin up in the North Woods. You might be going to Lake Geneva for boating. So who we pick as governor is going to definitely impact you on things going forward. So many issues on the line here in Wisconsin. We do not allow marijuana. We there's issues about casinos. There's potential casino that could be on the line, and the governor of Wisconsin will be making a decision about whether he'll have the final decision, or he or she will have the final decision on whether to approve that proposed casino that's been proposed for Kenosha, right on the border with us between Illinois and Illinois and Wisconsin. So a lot on the line for voters in Illinois as we go to vote here in Wisconsin.
And Jason, in terms of the Republican Party primary, looks like 2 candidates are still in it.
Yes.
Who is leading in the polls there?
Yeah, so in Wisconsin, we have 2 Republicans on the ballot for the Republican primary for governor. Congressman Tom Tiffany, very well funded. He's raised millions of dollars. He's up on TV. He's been campaigning across the state. He's seen as the front runner. He's definitely been in the plus 60% of the Republican primary voters have been backing Tom Tiffany in the polls. The other Republicans say they're undecided. And there is a second candidate who's going to be on that ballot. His name is Andy Mansky. He's a young professional. He works in the medical services profession as a technician, and he qualified to be on the ballot. He hasn't raised a lot of money at all. He does posts on social media, but he in many ways is not seen as having all the infrastructure that Congressman Tom Tiffany has as a sitting member of the United States Congress. So a lot of people are looking at Tom Tiffany potentially as the likely nominee for Republicans. And what I should point out is I'm even hearing from Republicans here in battleground Wisconsin that say they're going to go ahead and vote in the Democratic primary for governor because it's not so competitive for Republicans, but maybe they really want to see potentially what I've heard from them. They might want to go ahead and back Francesca Hong in the primary voting. We have an open primary, so you can when you get your ballot on election day, you can decide whether to vote in the Republican primary or Democratic primary. can only vote in one of those primaries, but it's all on the same ballot.
Sure.
And so it's possible that Republicans will decide in the secrecy of their ballot box to vote in the Democratic primary. Potentially, they might see Francesca Hong with all these ads up. They might see her as the easier candidate for Republicans to beat in the fall. So maybe they're going to vote for Francesca Hong in the privacy of that ballot box.
Yeah, they're teeing up their own matchup. Jason, thank you so much for being with us. It's great to see you, and we appreciate you taking the time out of your day.
Thanks so much to be with you.
Thanks. That was Jason Calvi reporting from Fox 6 in Milwaukee. Stay with us here on Chicago Live. We have our second hour coming up after this break.
Good news.
Welcome back to Chicago Live. Before we bring in our next guest, we want to give you a look at Grant Park. Lollapalooza came to a close last night following the 4-day mega music festival. Looks like we've got a spider on that lens as well. But you can see Grant Park just covered in mud and dirt. It was a really wet weekend out there on Friday. It was delayed. Crowds were delayed getting in, or rather on Saturday. That was for several hours. A lot of performances got canceled on Saturday because of it and because of all that rain. And of course, now the cleanup begins. There are still several road closures in effect. Some will be in place through this weekend. So just continue to be aware of that. If you live or work downtown in the area of the Loop, they are starting to take down those stages today to take down all that equipment. But it does, of course, take time. And you can just see how much work it is going to be to resod that area. But it is nothing new. We've seen this before, and it does cost hundreds of thousands of dollars typically charged to the promoter of Lollapalooza to get our park back in order after this 4-day music festival. So that work will begin here shortly as well. And today, if you missed it earlier, but Lost and Found for Lollapalooza is taking place until 5 p.m. at the Hilton. So you can still head over there. You've got a few hours left. You can actually search your lost item on Lollapalooza's website. There is a lost and found inventory list, essentially, but there are wallets, there are cell phones, keys, clothing items. There are so many things that were lost during the festival this weekend that you can head over to the Hilton to pick up there today. We still have a lot more coming up here on Chicago Live. Next up, we will be chatting with the founder of the Black Beauty Club. Stay with us. We will be back after this quick break. Welcome back to Chicago Live. The time is now 2:03. Thank you for being with us on this Monday afternoon. If you are just joining us, we are excited to have you. We launched this show on our digital platforms last year, but today we bring it to you on our TVs as well and on broadcast. Thanks for joining us. Our next guest is Tomi Talabi, who comes to us as the founder of the Black Beauty Club. And it was just announced that there will be 2 events coming up here soon, Beauty on the Block, where you will transform different blocks into marketplaces for all things beauty. Tell me a little bit about how you got your start.
No, thank you so much for having me. So I'm the founder of the Black Beauty Club. We're very excited to be coming to Chicago. The Black Beauty Club is a beauty intelligence and cultural platform that is building the commercial infrastructure to support Black beauty brands and beauty overall to make sure that beauty as a culture is seen, funded, and valued overall. And the Black Beauty Club's Beauty in the Block in Chicago is going to be taking over Union Park on August 8th from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. And the goal of this is to support Black businesses and make sure that everyone, no matter who you are, can find beauty brands that are Black founded that can support them throughout their beauty journey.
And part of your mission, I understand, is to make sure that Black beauty brands are as equally represented as other brands. Talk to me about what you've seen in recent years. Is this issue improving, or is this still something that you see that these brands are being underrepresented in stores?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's obviously an ongoing conversation. As you may know, according to McKinsey, the consumer spend for Black beauty is 11% of the entire industry, whereas Black beauty founders only get 2.5% of that entire beauty economy. So I think there's a lot of opportunity for Black founders ultimately to reach consumers, but not just Black consumers, really, also diverse consumers. You know, the same way in which a Black person can go and buy something from L'Oreal or CeraVe is the same way we hope that other people can come and try some of the amazing brands that we have, to know that these brands are also created for them, and they can find a beautiful hair block or sunblock or skincare or lipstick, and it doesn't really matter who it's created by.
And talk about how that makes someone feel when they do find a brand that they feel seen by.
I mean, I think it's an incredible feeling to feel seen. I think that we are at the point where being seen is one thing, but also having the funding and support and the economical and capital support is really what we need at the moment. And I think it's really trying to find a way to like balance the both at this time, right? It's great to be seen, but it's also great for us to have the funding and the money to actually create the products that serves everyone.
So this Saturday, August 8th, tell us a little bit more about the event. You mentioned it's in Union Park, and it kicks off at noon?
It kicks off at 11 a.m.
11, perfect, even better.
Yes. Even better. We're very excited by it. It's powered by Cash App and Square, which is incredible because it allows vendors to use Square as a platform, but also Cash App. So if you come and shop with your Cash App card, you do get 20% off what you do purchase there. We have a bunch of amazing, incredible brands, from Hana Hana Beauty, that is a Chicago brand, to Morph's Beauty, Ashanta Sharif Beauty as well. These are all local brands. But also we have brands coming in from other cities, such as My Block Skin, as well as Slick Hair Care as well. So there's a great opportunity to find different types of brands there. We'll also be having music, games. We have Rebundle coming in from New York, and they're going to be doing an amazing hair show. So it's going to be an incredibly engaging and exciting event. We just did it in New York, where we sold over 6 figures worth of product within 6 hours.
Oh, wow. And I was just going to ask you, how did the event go in New York City? And that's where you're based, right?
Yes, I am. I'm on my way tonight.
Oh, so it's tonight.
Oh, I'm on my way today to Chicago, but the event is August 8th on Saturday.
Perfect. So you're coming a few days early to get set.
Yes, we have a lot of fun activities happening. We have an influencer dinner with MAC Cosmetics later on August. We have a conversation at the Soul House in Chicago later on as well. So it's going to be a lot of engaging events to just get the community excited. It's also obviously August is Black Business Month as well. So anything we can do to help boost the economy is what we're really excited about.
And so not only can people come on Saturday to shop, but you mentioned there's going to be some treatments that you can get, some hairstyles done.
Exactly.
What else can people look out for?
Nail art as well. There's going to be a lot of amazing music. In New York, we had an incredible kids area. And so we're just really excited to be partnering with the 27th Alderman in Chicago, who we're partnering with to bring this to life.
And finally, is it free to attend? Is it ticketed? Talk to us about how folks can take part.
Yes, you can either RSVP via Posh VIP, but it's also free for everyone to attend. Feel free to walk in, try out something new, eat something new as well. We have a lot of great food as well that will be there. And most importantly, make sure that you have your Cash App card so you can get that 20% off.
All right. Tomi Talabi, founder of Black Beauty Club. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
You as well. Thank you for being with us here on Chicago Live. Stay with us. We have one of our local alderpersons joining us after the break.
Let's go get that light.
Welcome back to Chicago Live. Our next guest joins us from the 15th Ward, Alderman Ray Lopez. Thank you for being with us on this Monday afternoon.
Happy Monday, Casey. How are you?
I am great. Thank you for joining us. So you just held a press conference this afternoon. Talk to us about what was discussed in that press conference regarding troubled buildings that you say are being occupied by gang members in your ward.
Well, what we've seen, Casey, over the last few years of the Johnson administration is a lack of interest in addressing what we call troubled buildings, these gang-infested, gun-ridden buildings that are often used for violence and drug activity, and the lack of coordination between the law department, police department, Department of Buildings, and Streets and Sanitation in addressing them. Now, we have heard our mayor and the administration say that you can't arrest your way into public safety, but that's simply not the case when you have buildings that have long-standing histories in our neighborhoods of being magnets for violence, and yet we take no action against them. We have an ordinance on the books right now called the Troubled Building Ordinance, which was strengthened under Mayor Rahm Emanuel by aldermen like myself and others, so that we could hold landlords accountable when they willingly and knowingly allow their tenants to engage in any of that dangerous activity. Unfortunately, we've seen a reluctance to utilize that ordinance to keep neighborhoods safe. And as the mayor came to Back of the Arts today, wanting to do a photo op with two of my known targets, it felt very disingenuous for him to bring all the staff to come see it while not answering those two issues, as well as the nearly 24 others that are outstanding in the 15th Ward alone.
So under this troubled building ordinance, if a landlord has identified an issue at their building, let's say, what should happen under this ordinance that may not be happening, as you put it?
Well, what the law allows us to do is to work with the Department of Law and the Department of Buildings, and if we have to address tenants, we can actually issue a vacate order to a property to remove individuals who are those nuisances, those magnets of violence, who may be gangbanging, doing prostitution, drug dealing, or running guns. Now, if the landlord doesn't participate or continues to allow after being put on notice, that person could also be charged with that same behavior, like a co-conspirator, if you will, and they could end up losing the property. It is a very useful tool to get people's attention, but more specifically, to help make neighborhoods like Back of the Yards and Brighton Park safe, where we oftentimes see landlords who are just oblivious to what's going on intentionally because they're getting paid cash every month and don't want to lose that paying tenant.
Mm-hmm. And what does this do for neighborhood blocks? For those families who are hardworking and they have their kids who they want to let them walk to school, but maybe not past certain homes. What does this do to the greater community when you do have a troubled property?
When you don't address these issues, people become prisoners in their own homes. Parents are afraid to send their children down the street, let alone to school, because they know they have to run the gauntlet with these individuals who are out there doing these horrible things in our neighborhoods. And community oftentimes feels, when they don't see action, that they've been forgotten. So I'm trying to use this moment where the mayor's attention is on what's going on finally to highlight that across all 77 communities, we know that we have targets that we need to address. Let's get our eye back on the ball, work with our police, work with our buildings department, and do what we need to do to move these individuals. Oftentimes, politicians will hide behind the housing is a human right mantra, but in doing so, you give gangbangers and drug dealers cover to act with impunity in our neighborhoods, and that simply has to come to an end.
And talk to us a little bit about some of these specific properties that you're seeing. What type of violence has been created surrounding those homes?
Well, for example, where we did our press conference this afternoon at the corner of 48th and Rockwell in the city's Brighton Park neighborhood, you have a middle school on one corner, you have the Park District headquarters on another, and then you have a former gang house that was right smack in the middle. And you would have individuals, 10, 15 at a time, throwing gang signs, checking cars, checking patrons, checking parents, shooting indiscriminately. And that's a pattern that has repeated itself time and time again across neighborhoods throughout the entire city of Chicago. Where the mayor was at today on Wood Street, we have a known house with gang members who have actually taken over, squatted, are routinely vandalizing our streetlights, making it dark on the block so that they could do whatever they want to do in the darkness all night long. that has a real negative impact on our quality of life. And while my office and many aldermen try to meet them every day and push back, we need the full support of City Hall to be effective. And when you are not allowing police to do their job, or the buildings or law department to build those cases, the criminality knows that they have the upper hand and are pushing our residents further and further away from the life that we owe them.
And what are your constituents saying? What are the residents saying? Are you guys getting phone calls to your ward office about some of these properties?
I get a call every week about a new property, let alone the 25, 30 that we're tracking in the court system through the city's various measures to see what we can do to put an end to this. It's almost like playing whack-a-mole as far as it goes in an aldermanic office, because you close one and they move to the next. But we have to remain vigilant. We have to remain active. And that only gets more difficult when you don't have City Hall support.
And you mentioned squatting. This is an issue that we have seen in neighborhoods across the city. In one recent case that I learned about in Logan Square, a group Airbnb rented a home and they stayed past a certain 30-day mark, and they ended up staying, and they've been in there for months, and they are staying there under this protection that because they stayed past a certain number of days, they don't need to leave, that they have rights. Talk a little bit more about squatting, and that in and of itself seems to be a separate issue, but still a large issue across many neighborhoods.
Well, oftentimes the two go hand in hand, to be perfectly honest with you, because what could start as just a simple matter of squatting, where people are taking over a property or staying past their lease without paying. Then they start subleasing, renting out, or inviting new people into a property, which almost always leads to more problems, including either renting to gang members, drug dealers, or human traffickers and prostitution ringleaders. We have to recognize that not all people have good intentions when they are moving into a rental property, and that finally the state of Illinois is trying to address some of those concerns, where they formerly looked at it as just a civil matter. Now that the state finally understands it's a criminal matter as well, clearing up some of the language this year so that law enforcement locally can actually get involved. But that remains a blight on many of our communities that we need to address, while understanding that if we have a housing issue, if you want to address that, then you need to make it easier for individuals to get rid of bad tenants who don't pay, and don't give them as much opportunity to squat, because oftentimes we see in neighborhoods throughout the southwest, northwest sides in particular, where you have natural occurring rental units available, but landlords who are afraid to rent to them in their 2-flat, 3-flat homes that they also occupy, because they don't want to deal with the criminality that also comes with it.
Right, especially if they're living in that building as well. What happens next to allow those different agencies you mentioned, the Department of Law, buildings, police, to work together to address some of these problem properties?
Well, in Chicago, anything's possible in an election season, Casey. And what we're going to see is, since the mayor wants to make this an issue as he gears up, presumably to run for re-election, I know at least in the 15th Ward, I intend to give him the full list that we've put together. And if he wants to meet the challenge in the moment and unleash the departments to do what we need to do, so be it. Let's see what he has. But I'm not going to hold my breath for that, because for the past 3.5 years, I've seen the reluctance to do what needs to be done. Enforcement works when you want to improve the quality of life in neighborhoods, and there's just been a lack of political will to enforce the laws on the books on this and a whole host of issues impacting our neighborhoods.
And while we have you, he has not yet formally announced that he will be seeking re-election. Have you heard anything? Do you expect him to announce?
I would be very surprised if he did not announce. All the polls have shown that even though many of us understand that he's very much in a weakened position, he is still the mayor of the city of Chicago. He still walks in. Most polls show him with 1/3 of the voters voting for him in round one. So that would absolutely put him in a runoff. It's more than he had the first time when he made it into the runoff 4 years ago. But at the same time, it is going to be an uphill battle for him, but incumbency has its advantages, and I'm sure he will use every lever at his disposal, should he make it to the runoff.
15th Ward Alderman Ray Lopez, always great to chat with you. Thank you for being with us. Anything else you want to share?
I'm just very glad that it stopped raining in the city of Chicago. I had my gondola boat ready to take it to City Hall. But I'm glad that muddy paw season hopefully has come to a halt in my house.
Absolutely. And now they just got to clean up Grant Park after Lollapalooza. Big mess.
Yes, they do.
Thank you, Alderman Lopez. Great to see you. Stay with us here on Chicago Live. We'll be back after this quick break. See you then.
I got hurt in an accident.
Welcome back to Chicago Live. We want to take things back out to Massachusetts, where the trial for Lindsay Clancy is underway. She is accused of killing her 3 young children. Her defense argues that she was in a state of postpartum psychosis. Clancy did attempt to take her own life following those killings, but that suicide attempt was unsuccessful. Let's listen in. The person on the stand right now was an investigator with the DA's office at the time of those murders.
At some point after the search warrant was over, you're aware a lot of items were brought back for further examination, correct?
Correct.
Is that common that when you're working on a search warrant, things are kind of...
It's okay. You all right?
Is it common that a lot of times a search warrant, things are collected and brought back for further examination?
Yes.
Is that because it's kind of chaotic there and can't really examine things thoroughly on scene?
That's correct, yes.
So in this particular circumstance, were you asked to review some books and journals?
Yes, I was.
And I'm just going to... If I may approach the witness.
Sure.
I'm just showing you an item. Is that familiar to you?
Yes, it is.
You didn't locate this on that night, did you?
No, I did not.
But you had the opportunity to review the contents of it at a later date?
Correct.
I would move to admit this crime journal as exhibit, please.
No objection. All right, that may be admitted. Kels, can I see you sidebar just for a second?
There is a break right now in the courtroom, but just to give you some background on this trial, Lindsay Clancy is accused of murdering her 3 young children on January 24th of 2023 in Duxbury, Massachusetts, where they live. Cora, 5 years old, Dawson, 3, and Callan, 8 months old. Now, her defense is arguing that she was in a state of postpartum psychosis at the time and was not responsible, should not be held responsible for those killings. We've heard from a number of witnesses today, including the psychiatrist who treated her at the hospital following this incident, and also a doctor who treated her at one point as well. On the witness stand right now is an investigator who worked for the DA's office at the time of those murders, again, back in 2023. We will continue to bring you updates on this case as we have them. Really just a tragic situation. You know, those 3 young children, all killed, and her husband, Lindsay Clancy's husband, did testify last week in this case as well. So we will continue to bring you the latest as we hear from the courtroom. We will come back when they are out of that short break there. Stay with us here on Chicago Live. We will be back after this break.
Like a relentless
Welcome back to Chicago Live. We were just out in the courtroom in Massachusetts where Lindsay Clancy, who is accused of strangling her 3 young children, is on trial. They finished up their break. Let's listen back in. Someone on the stand previously worked for the DA's office at the time of the investigation.
On it, you recall that?
Yes, I do.
And you are aware Callan Clancy was one of the children?
Yes.
Okay. And in this instance, did you see similar handwriting from the other 2 journals that you reviewed?
Yes, I believe there was 2 separate.
Okay. At some point in this, these entries, you began to notice there were other handwriting.
Correct.
At the time you were looking at this, did you know who the other handwriting was?
At the time, no.
Who it belonged to? Okay. And fair to say, reviewing the contents of it, it's a pretty detailed list of a schedule for the baby.
Correct.
I have nothing further.
All right. Mr. Reddington.
So one of the things that the district attorney did was read to you certain entries from what is referred to in your report as the Tree of Life Artisan Journal, correct?
Correct.
And when you refer in the report to the Tree of Life Artisan Journal, is that this here? What do you call the Tree of Life? Is there a diagram or a picture of the tree on it?
Should have a tree on it, yes.
But in any event, you would recall that that particular diary or notebook set forth on a number of pages her feelings dealing with her children. Is that fair?
It's fair to say, yes, sir.
And you wrote in your report on page 19 of 63, counsel asked you first about her stating that she had horrible PTSD from sleep training Callan, hearing him cry for 1 hour plus and not intervening just about killed me. I even said the words, "I want to die," to Pat while he was crying. He would be the baby, right?
Correct.
And this is her saying that not being able to go to her child because they were trying to do sleep training, she indicated that it was just about killing her, correct?
That's what was stated, yes.
And after that, I, meaning Lindsay, became obsessed with his sleep and nap schedule. Like to the minute, I would tell Laney, and you know who Laney is, right?
Yes.
Who's Laney?
The other child.
The what?
I'm sorry again. What's this?
Laney.
Laney.
Laney. L-A-N-E-Y. Laney.
Don't recall this time.
Do you recall that she had a young lady, or they had a young lady that was in their home helping with the baby while she was supposed to?
I don't recall this time.
Okay. That she would tell Laney, put him down at 10:36. I would also drive him around for car naps for hours every day, feeling guilty for doing this to my baby. Do you recall making that notation?
Yes.
I also feel guilty we did it too young, parenthesis, 1 week shy of 4 months, end parenthesis, right?
Correct.
You also noted in your report that I also, quote, I also feel like I did it wrong because I did it when he was overtired, so I made it harder. I now have horrible insomnia and anxiety, which is causing depression. I have no appetite. I don't know what's wrong with me. I want help. I want to be well. You saw that in there, didn't you?
Yes.
And then she went on and said, I think the anxiety started after sleep training. Doctor said it was okay to let him cry. I need to get a good night's sleep and take care of him, rocking him to sleep every nap in bed in the middle of the night. She noted that, right?
Yes.
Noting further in separate occasion, he's still a very happy baby despite his sleep training. Why I feel guilty is not really hitting his milestones, not rolling over, although he almost is, exclamation point. And he's babbling, which is a new milestone.
You were just listening into the murder trial of Lindsay Clancy, accused of strangling her 3 young children in 2023. That case based out of Massachusetts. We will bring you updates from that courtroom as they progress. Turning now to the Morton Arboretum, let's bring in our next guest, Kate Good, who is the Global Tree Conservation Research Manager there. Thanks, Kate, for being here.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So tell us a little bit. We understand that Morton Arboretum conducted a recent study on a particular type of oak tree. Tell us a little bit more about this.
Yeah, so in the Global Tree Conservation Program at the Morton Arboretum, we conserve trees with a focus on oaks in oak biodiversity hotspots. And one of those hotspots is Asia. There are more threatened species of oak in Asia than anywhere else in the world. So working with local partners, we recently published a conservation gap analysis to help us set priorities and identify the species at most urgent need of conservation.
And what is happening with those oak trees? Why are they at risk?
So the greatest threat to oaks in Southeast and East Asia is agriculture, especially logging and pulp productions, especially with rubber trees and oil palm plantations.
And what do you do to solve this issue? Is it something that can be corrected?
Well, the first thing we need to do is identify the species that are at greatest need of conservation. And so we do that by identifying the species that are not in protected areas, that are facing the greatest threat on the ground, and are not in botanic gardens. Botanic gardens act as a great insurance policy against extinction. Once we identify the species that need our help the most, we work with local partners to collect seed, to propagate the seedlings, to reintroduce them into the wild.
And recently, the Morton Arboretum held its Destination Asia Festival. Tell us a little bit more about that event.
Yeah, it was a great chance to showcase some of the amazing work we do in Asia. We presented on the results of our gap analysis. We had a table to explain to the public about the work that we do in Asia, and also just a great cultural experience. So we had sumo wrestlers, and there was face painting, and my kids were there, and they had a really great time.
I'm sure they did. It sounds like a great time. Talk to us a little bit. We just wrapped up Chicago Climate Week just over a week ago. Tell us a little bit about the Arboretum's efforts during that time.
Yeah, so climate change is also a significant threat to oaks within this region. Increased fire intensity, droughts, change in precipitation patterns. So at the Morton Arboretum in the Center for Tree Science, we do a lot of research on how climate change impacts oaks and how we can best protect them both in the wild and in botanic gardens.
Recently, with the storms that we had, did you guys have a lot of damage at the Arboretum?
We did have some damage at the Arboretum. We lost a couple of large trees, but yeah, we all pulled together, working really long days to clean everything up and try to get the Arboretum open quickly. We lost power for a couple of days too, but now we're back and ready to, have visitors.
And in a situation like that, when you do lose, older trees, well, what kind of trees were they? But also, how do you make sure that you're then replenishing the trees that you have potentially lost in, storm situations? And we've had so many storms in recent years that have taken out a lot of trees in the area.
We have had a lot of storms, especially some of the older trees at the Arboretum had some damage. We lost a big linden tree, I know, on the Morton Arboretum property. We're always propagating new trees, planting new trees. We do a lot of checks to make sure the trees are safe and structurally sound. So we're always replacing trees at the Morton Arboretum.
And what do you want viewers at home to know about protecting the trees in their own yards?
Yeah, so I would love viewers to know that one way you can support threatened trees and tree biodiversity is by visiting the Morton Arboretum, becoming a member. Supporting the Morton Arboretum supports all the work that we do. There are many threatened trees in and around Illinois. So you can come to the Morton Arboretum, learn more about some threatened trees that maybe you could find near your backyard, and you could plant those, and you could help support tree conservation.
And going back to that study, were you able to travel to Asia to do some research for it, or were any members of your team able to do that?
Yeah, so we are very fortunate that we have partners that we work very closely with, especially in Vietnam and Laos, and they do a lot of our work, our survey work, and our collecting acorns. We are able to visit and accompany them on a lot of their trips, but they're really the experts. So we're following their lead and helping to support really the work that they're doing on the ground.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Kate. Is there anything else that you want our viewers to know? What else is happening at the Morton Arboretum over the next couple months?
Yeah, so just this week we have some exciting things coming up. There's a Taylor Swift cover band. And
that'll be a popular one.
Yeah, you can make your own bracelets. There's dog admission days. There's Lodorera, which is like a Mexican bingo. So there's a lot of great things coming up. You can visit our website to find an event that interests you.
And for viewers, you may have passed the Morton Arboretum and not even known it. There's that big snail that you can see just off of the expressway. Tell us a little bit about that. I know it's an art installation. It hasn't always been there, but how long can we expect that it will stay?
Yeah, so the official dates are on the website. We do have rotating art exhibitions at the Morton Arboretum. So if you're interested in seeing the snail, you should come by this summer soon while it's still around. And then we'll have exciting new art exhibitions after that one closes.
Kate, thank you so much for being with us. We appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
Stay with us here on Chicago Live. It is just about 2:42. We still have many great guests coming up, including a check of the forecast. Stick with us. You're looking at the Chicago River right now. It looks pretty quiet right now. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Chicago Live. I am being joined now by Chief Meteorologist Emily Walls. Thank you for being with us.
Of course,
You're our first guest up here.
Yeah.
On the desk on our first day on broadcast.
I love it. Happy to be here.
Yes. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the weather. Rainy weekend, a little bit up and down, kind of cloudy. Sun peaked out yesterday. Today it's pretty nice.
Beautiful today. You know, I think everybody's still talking about Lollapalooza and just the mess that it became.
It is so muddy.
You know, we were joking last week that, you know, maybe we're looking at a mud pit style Lollapalooza by Saturday night, and it absolutely was that. It was just a mess.
Those videos of the festival goers, I give them credit for powering through. A lot of them broke out their boots for the weekend, but it is a mess. It's going to take quite a bit to clean up Grant Park, but they'll get it done. They've done it before.
Yep, they've done it before, and you know, it seems like every single year we at least have one good rainy day, right? So par for the course. But today we're back on track. It's gorgeous. We have temperatures right now that for a lot of us are sitting in the lower 80s, but it feels just a touch warmer because the humidity is starting to rise. So we have dew point temps right now in the city anyway, right around 64 degrees. And whenever you have dew point temps that are above 60 degrees, that's when you start to feel the humidity. It starts to feel a little sticky outside. Anything that's closer to the mid 60s starts feeling a little uncomfortable. By 70, that's just when it feels oppressive with the dew point temps. So we're kind of stair-stepping our way up there, but you know, it's that beautiful summer-like feel after a few days being cooler in the 70s. I think a lot of people, you know, I'm assuming anyway, would be happy to have that summer warmth back. And the next couple of days look pretty nice too, although I am tracking another rain chance that's going to be here toward the middle of the week. So Wednesday and Thursday, we're going to have a chance for showers, a couple thunderstorms. Notice temperatures are going to take a little bit of a hit as well. We're going to be in the mid to upper 70s on Wednesday and Thursday. Thunderstorm chance at this point, it looks like just your average thunderstorms coming through, brief heavy downpours. At this point, I'm not overly concerned about anything becoming severe. It just doesn't seem like we have the right ingredients for that to happen Wednesday and Thursday. Of course, we'll keep a close eye on it, and by Friday, you know, we're back in business. 82 degrees.
Yeah, looks great.
Yeah, by the way, average for this time of the year sits right around 84. So every couple weeks now, we're going to start to see that number going down. You know, we've kind of already hit the peak high temperature of the summer. You know, days are getting shorter now.
Days are a number.
Yes, so we have to enjoy these 80s while we have them. Mid 80s on Saturday. We're going to be partly cloudy. Then by Sunday and Monday, another small chance for some showers, maybe a rumble of thunder. But the overall thinking here is that we're going to see a pretty nice warming trend over the weekend. Some models, Casey, trying to bring us into the 90s on Sunday.
Wow,
I'm not ready to commit just yet to 90 in the city, but I think we're definitely going to be talking heat and humidity for this weekend.
And for a lot of kids, it's their last week off, which is wild that we're already approaching that back to school time.
Yeah.
Some schools have a few more weeks, but I know Caitlin was saying her kiddos are back, I think, next week to school. So at least there will be a few good days this week and this coming weekend to do those final outdoor activities of summer break.
Right, and if you're hoping to get to the water, to Lake Michigan, I did just kind of double check our Lake Michigan water temps, and they're not bad. Most of areas are in the low to mid 70s at this point, which, you know, summertime in the Midwest, in Michigan, specifically Lake Michigan, it doesn't get much warmer than that. You know, if we have a really, really hot summer, we can sometimes get our shoreline temps close to the upper 70s, but low to mid 70s, very, very normal. And, you know, it's about as nice as it gets. So enjoy it.
And you're looking now at Grant Park. Emily, just look at that big rectangle of mud.
Yeah.
It's so funny because it's like mud everywhere, and then you see those nice, clean pickleball courts.
Yes.
That were totally restricted during Lollapalooza.
Yeah, that's a good thing, though, because, you know, what a mess. You know, every single year, though, the crews, they get hard at work in the weeks following, and it just restores back to being as beautiful as it was prior to Lolla. So.
And they do it so fast that they're able to resod, and soon you wouldn't even know.
Yeah.
Wouldn't even know it. Okay, well, so good that during those upcoming thunderstorms, nothing too severe, because so many families are still just starting to pick up from those tornadoes last week.
Yeah, you know, things were a mess last Monday. Of course, we had severe thunderstorms, but we also had those tornadoes, but straight line wind damage. You know, that impacted such a large portion of the viewing area. So folks are still going to be cleaning that up, cleaning up the trees, and, you know, any damage on the property. That's going to be ongoing. That stuff takes a while. You know, everybody, most people, you know, you're still getting up and doing your normal routine. You're watching your kids, you're going to work. So you really have to kind of just pick up those things on the weekends if you can. But fortunately, you know, I don't see anything that appears like it's going to be anything like what we saw last Monday.
Good.
Really anytime
Good
soon.
news.
Yeah.
Great. Emily, thank you so much for being with us here to break down the weather for the week.
Yep.
Looks like we've got some good days coming up.
Yeah, we absolutely do.
All right, stay with us here on Chicago Live. We will be back after this break. Welcome back to Chicago Live. As we look ahead to 4 and 5 o'clock, we want to bring in our very own Lauren Scafidi to break down all of the great stories that will be included in our 5 p.m. newscast today. She is joining us to give us a little bit of a preview. Hey, Lauren.
Hi there. How are you doing, Casey?
Great. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day. I know you're busy getting ready for the 5 o'clock.
No problem. Yes. I was just looking over things, and all of a sudden I see myself on TV. Wow, we're doing this thing.
We're doing it.
Busy afternoon. Yes, you know how it goes. Busy afternoon looking over the 5 o'clock. Do you want to start with Bears, Kate?
Yes. Okay, let's start with Bears. I think you just froze, so hopefully we can get you back there.
Let's start with Bears. They just practiced for the first... Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, you're good now.
Okay, wonderful. Let me know if it goes out again. But let's start with sports because that's what we are starting out with at 5 o'clock today. Lots going on in the sports department. Of course, we've been talking about camp for the Bears. They practiced in their pads today, and a lot going on there because their top free agent signing is out. So Cassie is going to have a little bit more on that, as well as baseball. We are counting down the hours until 5 o'clock because that's when the trade deadline ends for baseball today. So we know that the Sox added a couple, the Cubs added a couple. So again, Cassie is going to break all of that down. Of course, Lollapalooza is over after 4 days of fun in Grant Park. We were taking a look at some of the images coming out of there. Of course, you guys know it was very rainy over the weekend, so very muddy, so lots to clean up. But just a couple of hours ago, we got the new numbers for Lala. We're talking about arrests and ambulance rides. So I want to bring you... Can you guys still hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, wonderful. So I just wanted to bring you some of those numbers. 10 arrests out of Lollapalooza this year, 67 people left in ambulances.
Wow.
Now, we don't know what the arrests or what those injuries were, but those are the latest numbers that we have coming out of Lollapalooza for this last year. We also have an update on the cyclosporiasis outbreak that we have been talking about for weeks now. We know that there are plenty of cases here in the Midwest, and 2 people we just confirmed actually died from this in Michigan. We know Michigan was hit really, really hard. There are 11,000 cases there in Michigan, 193 hospitalizations, and as of today, 2 deaths. Now, those 2 deaths in Michigan were the first for the entire United States. Here in Illinois, we've got about 700 cases, and in Indiana, about 1,100 cases. So that's something that we are continuing to track. And we'll have a live interview about all of that coming up at 4 o'clock today. Let's get into what some of our reporters are covering. Brett is going to be in Aurora because Aurora residents turned in about 9,000 signatures to get recall questions on the November ballot. So here's what that could do. Those questions could ask voters if mayors and aldermen should be able to be recalled before their term ends. Now, the effort is being led by Aurora for Change, and organizers say that the campaign isn't aimed at one particular person. So that's what Brett is working on. So we'll get a full report from him at 4 and 5 o'clock. Joni is covering some tornado damage in Homewood. You know, recovery efforts are still underway from that really messy day that we had. Exactly a week ago today, it was last Monday, and so recovery efforts, cleanup efforts still underway in so many parts of our area. Tia is covering a really heartbreaking story tonight. So Tia spoke to the mom of her 4-year-old son had passed away while they were here in Chicago. They're from Alabama. They were visiting some family here in Chicago, and she says that her son, who went by MJ, was getting his hair braided, and there was a drive-by shooting, and her 4-year-old son passed away. Really, really upsetting. This was back in 2021, and it's been 5 years, right? And there are still no arrests. So she was able to talk to that mom just about what they want moving forward. You know, she's really hoping that they get some answers to this, as it's been so long. The reward for that has grown to $10,000. So we'll have that full report at, later this evening. And Casey, I'm looking really forward to hearing your story about beat baseball a little bit later today.
Absolutely. Yes. Coming up here on Chicago Live, we will be chatting with the National Beat Baseball Association. We previewed it in the Loop. We are so excited because they are holding their Adaptive World Series this week in Aurora. This started way back when, 50 years ago, right here in Chicago. And they're circling back. It's a full circle moment here, hosting it yet again in the area, and it is for visually impaired athletes who use sound, not sight, when they're playing baseball. So we do really look forward to chatting with them, and we will have a recap again at 5. Lauren, before I let you go, I want to circle back to cyclospora. Just so scary that there are now 2 deaths, but we do want to let our viewers know that experts say that the people who passed away had underlying conditions, that cyclospora exacerbated things. So we are really looking forward to your interview in the 5 o'clock. You said you'll be chatting with someone about that, just to give, a clearer picture of should people be concerned, or should they just continue to be smart, be safe, with maybe what they're eating right now, and just kind of keeping a closer eye on it. But really tragic that 2 people have lost their lives as a result of that.
Very much so, Casey. But you bring up a good point. Yes, these 2 people had underlying health conditions, and this is not typically a deadly disease. So I'm looking really forward to hearing how that interview goes at 4 o'clock as well. I'll be typing away, getting things ready for the 5 o'clock, but I'm definitely interested in hearing how that goes at 4 o'clock. Lots of things going on, from news to big headlines to sports, you name it. Packed shows tonight, that is for sure.
Lauren, thank you so much, and we will see you on the news at 5. All right, stay with us here on Chicago Live. We've got another hour left together. We'll be right back.
You ever feel like
Welcome back to Chicago Live. We will next be talking about pet friendliness in various cities across the U.S. We want to bring in Chip Lupo from Wallet Hub to talk about a recent study that was just done. And unfortunately, Chicago didn't do very well in the rankings here. Hi, Chip. Thanks for being with us.
Oh, my pleasure, Kate. Thank you for having me on.
So, okay, I see that Chicago ranked 99th. Now, on average, it says cities have ranked about 50, with one being most pet friendly, and we rank 99. Talk to us a little bit about what went into this study.
Well, it's unfortunate for Chicago residents because we're in an era we love our pets. 95 million households in the U.S. own pets, to the tune of spending as much as $165 billion on our pets. That's how much we love our animals.
But I'm not surprised.
No, yeah, me either. I know, because I look at our credit card bills and there's more pet-related expenses.
More
than
treats.
Treats, cat litter, toys, cardboard boxes.
All sorts of things, to keep them happy.
Right. But what we did, Kate, is that we compared the 100 most populated cities across 3 key dimensions: pet budget, pet health, wellness, and outdoor pet friendliness. But then we evaluated those dimensions using 23 relevant metrics, and those run from veterinarian costs, number of pet businesses per capita, and of course walkability. And the numbers do not bode well for Chicago. 99th out of 100. Now, one step ahead of New York City and just right behind Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Really? That surprises me.
But what's interesting, though, about Chicago is that the one area in which it led to its downfall, to its poor ranking, is pet budget. 100th out of 100. Now, 80th in vet costs, an average of like almost $87. And I think that's probably the one thing that keeps a lot of folks from taking on the responsibility of pet, is that ability to be able to afford those veterinarian costs. I mean, we'll spend on toys and fancy clothes for some of them, but it's those vet costs that make a lot of people hesitant to even own pets. So that's unfortunate.
Yeah,
97th in the minimum provider rate, which is the absolute minimum just to get your pet checked out. You'll pay like a flat fee. Chicago is 97th in that respect. And if you have a dog and have insurance premiums, 99th out of 100.
And talk a little bit about, how many people actually get insurance for their pets. It does come in handy in cases where those vet bills do end up skyrocketing, or your pet gets sick, or perhaps, has a condition that you don't know about. Some people get it. A lot of people, I understand, skip out on that insurance.
Well, it can be good and bad. Now, again, it depends on your budget, depends on how many pets you have. We have 5 cats. But the thing about pet insurance is like any other insurance or car warranties, you have to read the fine print, because you have to shop around, because they're not all the same. Some are better than others. Some cover more than others. Some have strict restrictions. And in some cases, you have almost like with your health insurance, you have like a network that you have to kind of abide by. So you have to be very careful, because overall, I think it's a pretty good deal. Again, if it's something that you'll use regularly.
And now I also see that we are ranked 95th for pet businesses per capita. Does this mean pet stores? Does this mean vets?
Pet stores per capita, or any other type of business that are pet friendly, but primarily it's pet stores, pet grooming, pet spas, boarding facilities, anything having related to pet outside. But you're right, that doesn't include veterinarian. These are like pet related businesses. Chicago's 95th on the list there.
But some good news, Chicago does rank 16th with dog parks, which is great. And we have so many wonderful green spaces for pets. One of our beaches, maybe 2 of our beaches, also allow dogs. So just out of curiosity, where did, let's say, New York City rank when it comes to dog parks?
New York ranked pretty high when it comes to dog parks. I think it was like in the top 3 overall. I don't have those specific numbers, but New York very, very when it comes to dog parks. Now, New York and Chicago do have a common thread there, that a lot of times you're limited by the weather. Nobody wants to go to the dog park in the middle of January when it's 10 below.
And what tips do you have for pet owners, who are here in the city? There are some, of course, we mentioned it, those dog parks to take them to. But for folks who have pets, or maybe they are exploring the option of getting a pet, but are worried about the cost, what do you suggest for families who are thinking about making that big step?
Now, with this study, we're talking about Chicago proper. So we're talking about the city of Chicago. So if you're in Chicago and are thinking about taking on a pet, look outside the city limits. Look at some of the suburban areas for vet care and those types of things. But and do shop, and always shop, whether it's for pet insurance, and shop around for vets. Just like with buying a house, don't automatically just sign on with the first vet you visit. So yeah, again, look locally, look outside of Chicago, because I'm sure in some of the suburban areas it's probably a little more reasonable price-wise. And also, the other thing also with Chicago is that it's not very pet-friendly when it comes to rentals. So if you're considering renting a place, the first thing you want to check, I know when we were renting, that was what we did. How pet-friendly is it? How many do they allow? Are there weight restrictions and those types of things?
That's so true, because a lot of these apartment buildings, especially downtown, can come with quite a hefty pet fee that you pay up front as sort of...
That you never get back.
You're not, you don't get it back. It's kind of a one-time incidental.
After your pet afterwards, you're not getting that deposit back.
Yeah, absolutely. Chip, thank you for being with us. What else do you want pet owners here in Chicago to know?
One thing that does work in Chicago's favor that you should know is that it's very pet friendly in terms of animal protection laws. There's some very strong laws when it comes to animal cruelty, and there's plenty of animal shelters per capita, the 6th highest. So if you're looking to take on a pet, check out the shelters first. Adopt, don't shop. That's my motto, and that's one I'm sure most pet owners have heard throughout the years.
Absolutely. We do have so many shelters here that are always looking for forever families for those four-legged friends. Great insight, great advice, Chip. Thank you so much for being with us. One other thing I'm curious in that study were patios considered in terms of, it's summertime, Chicago here. A lot of people can bring their pets to certain patios if the restaurant allows it. I'm curious where other cities fare in that area.
Yeah, Chicago, again, because it's a big urban area, a lot of the businesses are pet friendly. They do open up specific areas to other than service animals. And I think that is true in a lot of urban areas like Chicago, like New York, like Boston, where there's heavy foot traffic, particularly in downtown areas, and people want to bring in their pets. Those are very accommodating. So I don't think for the most part you'll have probably just walking to a cafe and bringing in your pet.
Chip, thank you so much. Can you offer any insight, any sneak peeks on what other studies you're working on?
We have a number of related studies, not only to pets, but it's back to school season. So we're looking at some of the back to school shopping tips and how to save money on school shopping. And then, of course, Black Friday will be here before we know it. So we have a lot of good shopping surveys and a lot of back to school surveys. Take a look at our related studies on the best and worst school systems, city and statewide. So yeah, we're getting into the busy season, so we've got a lot of stuff on the way.
Yeah, let's start with back to school. Let's not think maybe too far. I know you got to work on it, but I don't want to think about Thanksgiving just yet.
No, but now if you're traveling, you might want to start thinking about it now, because that's another thing. We do a lot of some upcoming travel studies. So if you're planning a vacation for Thanksgiving season or for the holidays, now's as good a time as any to start before prices go up and availability goes away.
Good advice. Chip Lupo from Wallet Hub, thank you for being with us here on Chicago Live. We'll talk to you next time.
Look forward to it. Thanks so much.
All right, thank you. And stay with us here on Chicago Live. We will be right back after this 2-minute break.
At Chamberlain University.
Welcome back to Chicago Live. We are so excited to take things out to our next guest to talk a little bit about the Adaptive Baseball World Series. We want to bring in President Richie Flores of the National Beat Baseball Association. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having us out here. We appreciate being on the show.
Okay, so just to start, please share with our viewers a little bit about Beat Baseball. This is for visually impaired athletes, and instead of sight, they rely on sound. Walk us back to the beginning, because you are celebrating a really special anniversary this year.
Yes, Beat Baseball was invented in 1976, so this is our 50th World Series. We're going to crown our 50th World Champion of the adapted form of America's favorite pastime. Our softballs are 16 inches. They have a beeping mechanism in them. Our bases have a buzzing mechanism. The point of the game is for you to connect with a pitcher who's on your team, to connect with a beeping ball and make it to one of the buzzing bases before the defense locates the ball. And if you make it, you make a run. If you don't make it and the defense locates the ball, then you're put out. So there's 4 strikes in Beat Baseball to accommodate the adaptation. But other than that, it's pretty close to what you would see at a 16-inch softball game.
I love it, and it's been going on for so long. The World Series isn't always held here, but it's only fitting that this year's is to celebrate that 50-year anniversary. It kicks off today, but it runs all week, right?
Yes, today we kick off with our, we have 21 teams coming from across the country. We start a round robin today and tomorrow, and Wednesday through Friday will be a double elimination tournament. So we're here all week. This is like Christmas in August for 500 of our athletes and adapted sighted allies who help us with this game. We want to thank DuPage Sport Commission and Aurora Sports Alliance for hosting us here at Stewart Sports Complex. Yes, this is our 50th year. We've had one before in Chicago, or a few in Chicago, but it's been a while since we've been back. But it's we're really happy to be here for 2026 and to celebrate the 50th.
And Richie, tell me a little bit about what this means to the athletes who participate.
This is, a time for us to be on a team. A lot of times blindness and folks with disabilities are isolated, and this is one of the biggest adapted sports that requires 6 players to be on a team to work together. This is another adapted sport that also has us align ourselves alongside our sighted peers who support us in playing. We come once a year for 1 week, and some of us, this is the only time we get to hang out with some of our friends from other teams. We definitely are very competitive between the lines, but after we have a 50th year celebration tomorrow. We have an awards banquet at the end of the week where we all join together, celebrate together, salute each other. But yes, Beat Baseball means so many different things to so many of us, but most of it is, it gives us a time to be competitive on an equal playing field and also to be respected as a true athlete.
I love it. And tell us about the first game. What time and how can people watch?
Please go visit nbba.org. That's National Beat Baseball Association. So National Beat Baseball Association, nbba.org. Click on our YouTube link there, and you'll be able to see the Chicago Comets, the hometown Chicago Comets, play the Philadelphia Fire, who placed 3rd place last year. And so that will be one of the games featured today on YouTube. But you'll be able to tune in 8 a.m., 11 a.m., and 2 p.m. on our YouTube page throughout the week. We'll have games featured on there.
And you also mentioned that it'll go all week long, but people can come out and see it in person too, right? Where is the park, and is it open to the community?
Yes, please, everyone come out. This is a free event. We will have food trucks out here most days from about 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Stewart's Sports Complex in Aurora. We're right on the borderline there of Montgomery. I believe it's 35 West 585 Jericho Road. Please come out and watch us. There's 21 teams competing. There's 300 blind athletes alongside our 200 of our sighted peers who help us put this game on Please come witness one of the most exciting sports that the adapted community has to offer. National Beat Baseball Association on all social media sites, nbba.org.
And Richie, do you play yourself?
Yes, I've been playing for 20 years. This is my 20th World Series. I am with the Bayou City Heat. We are from Houston, but I've been playing for 20 years for a couple different teams. I'm fortunate to have played in 5 championships, but only won one.
Oh, well, congratulations. Hey, one is more than none. Tell us a little bit, about that softball. Is it specially made, or are you able to kind of fashion it with that beeping device?
We start with a 16-inch softball, but yes, they are specifically produced for this game. We have 2 vendors who create the balls for us. They're really expensive. We have to buy 250 of them for the World Series because we hit them very hard, and a lot of times they break. If anybody is out there who is an engineer who could create an unbreakable ball for blind folks, we're looking for it because these are like $43 a piece.
Oh, wow.
And so we have to raise a lot of money to play the sport, to buy these beeping baseballs. But yes, we have to manufacture them. They're, each specifically for the game. There is a beeping mechanism that's built into it. There's some 3D printing now involved. It goes beyond any of my engineering, but they are specific to the game. You have to go to our equipment site at nbba.org to learn more about how to purchase these and how to buy them. But there are 2 vendors out there for beat baseballs.
And for folks at home who maybe a loved one is visually impaired, hasn't heard of this but wants to get involved, what ages participate in this league?
I believe we registered 517 members, and out of those we had 19 that are minors, and that could range from about 11 to about 17. We have I think one of our oldest players in the league is 76.
Wow.
So from teens to 70s we are all-inclusive sport, and that is both for players and our volunteers and supporters. This is a game for everyone. Baseball keeps us young, and so if you start earlier, you might just stay young.
Yeah, and I see that it's in 14 states right now, but you're looking to expand. Talk a little bit about those efforts to bring this organization to more places.
Well, this year we had our first tournament in Puerto Rico, so we're trying to expand into the Latin communities. Taiwan Home Run is a long-standing National Beat Baseball Association team that has come and actually won some championships. They just couldn't make it this year. They were here last year, so we look forward to inviting Taiwan back. We have communications and recreational activity happening in Canada, in Mexico, in Jamaica. So we're excited right now for the outreach of Beat Baseball. We know that adaptive sports just bring so much joy, so much independence, so much confidence and adjustment when it comes to dealing with blindness and visual impairment, and we like to just know that we're a big part of that, and please try adapted sports. It doesn't have to be beat baseball. There's so many others out there, but just being outdoors, breathing fresh air, exercise, physical fitness is good for everyone, but specifically for those of us who are blind and visually impaired, who sometimes we don't get that in our regular routine.
And Richie, I'm sure this has changed so many lives. Can you share any stories from previous years where, someone who participated was really touched by the experience?
I mean, so many times people are crying on the last game, whether they got first place or their 21st place. People are always sad just because the week is over. Mm-hmm. But yes, I mean, we have a Hall of Fame. I think we have about 130 people in the Hall of Fame. Again, on nbba.org, you can click on our stats. I think it's stats.nbba.org. There's 1,000 and 145 profiles of anybody who's participated in our league. So just like you would in Major League Baseball, you can go track your stats. You could see how many awards you've had. You could see how many defensive stops. So it's just really cool that blind people have a baseball card out there, and that just is so meaningful to anybody who puts some effort into this game. This game has changed my life in giving me an opportunity to become a leader as being the president of this league. Some of us, we learn how, again, to captain a team, to work together with someone who's culturally and maybe different than us in size or shape or race, and it means so much to us to be able to win together, but also lose with grace, and always learn from our losses, but then also celebrate together as a league who all just agree that adapted sports is good for our health, it's good for our heart, and it's good to share with others and be mentors to the blind community.
What a great message, Richie. How can people help? You mentioned those, the balls are expensive. How can people help support the NBBA?
Yes, nbba.org/donate. If you go straight to that page, you can see all the different efforts. Right now, we're really just trying to promote even just $5 a month to help our campaign efforts that will help with our beeping baseballs. We have to pay for umpires and officials to come and do this, help us be competitive within the league and be safe, and who know our rules. We also need to pay for fields. We play on a soccer field. We have to have 10 fields out here. A lot of us are staying at the Sheraton Hotel in Lyle, which we're going to have a big awards banquet. So it's a big week of expenses, and it takes a village. We want to thank a lot of our sponsors. Primo Brands and Schnucks came on. They're providing water for the whole tournament all week. Again, Aurora Sports Alliance and DuPage Sports Commission gave us a really big grant, and we thank them. Delta Gamma Foundation always helps us with some scholarships and support. But yes, nbba.org/donate, and you can see all the different ways you can help us out.
All right, Richie, thank you so much. Best of luck in the World Series, and we'll be keeping an eye on it.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much. Talk soon. Again, the World Series for Adaptive Baseball taking place in Aurora, happening at the Stewart Sports Complex. That's on Jericho Road in Aurora. Kicks off today, runs all through the week, through Saturday. We will be tracking how that competition goes. Stay with us here on Chicago Live. We will be back after the break.
Right now at Ashley's Labor.
Welcome back to Chicago Live. Well, our next guest is here, unfortunately, to talk about an incident that they are hoping for help with. A golf cart that was being raffled to support kids programming in Wilmington, Illinois, was stolen. We want to bring in Heather Houston to talk a little bit more about this. This happened at Lake Point Resort in Wilmington. First of all, Heather, thanks for being with us. I know this isn't an easy subject to be talking about, but thank you for joining us. Tell us a little bit about what happened.
Well, first, thank you for having me. And second, me and my husband, we own a small business, and we also are members at Lake Point Resort where the golf cart was taken. We donated 2 golf carts to the resort that benefit our kids fund. So all the money that we raise goes right back to the kids of Lake Point. So we do different activities and we host parties and all sorts of fun things for the kids to do throughout the year. So on the 19th, it was 4 people. One person came in the gate and actually pushed the golf cart out of the gate and took it.
And talk a little bit about this raffle. So you guys were raising money, and the cart itself was going to be raffled off?
Yeah, so we donated 2 carts. One was taken. We still have another one. We actually are in the process of building a 3rd cart to bring back to the lake. So there is 2 carts that are still going to be raffled. People buy raffle tickets. They're $20 a piece. And the cart is going to be raffled off on the 21st, I believe. So we still have a couple weeks for it.
When you learned, oh, there it is. There's one of the carts. When you learned that it had been taken and you saw that video that you were just describing, what went through your mind?
I couldn't even believe it because we've never had anything like this happened. We did this last year as well. So this is the 2nd year that we've donated carts to benefit the kids at Lake Point. And we just couldn't believe it. This is such a great little community in there. So we figured it has to be someone that came from the outside and did it. It's horrible. I don't know. It was a horrible feeling watching somebody do that.
And so you said they were seen pushing the cart. And what happened after that?
They pushed it to the street, and they actually got spooked a couple times by our members coming and going. But ultimately, they were able to take the cart. They hooked it with a strap to the back of their vehicle and pulled it down the road.
Oh, wow.
We don't know where it went after they left our property. We've had drones fly up to try to find it. Maybe they stashed it somewhere. We're working with the Wilmington Police Department right now to try to find the flock cameras, and then as well as any businesses in the area that have cameras. And we've been pushing it out on Facebook like crazy because we feel like somebody has to know something. Somebody heard something, somebody's seen someone talk. And we have gotten so many tips that we've passed along to the authorities that it's phenomenal, the outreach that the community is giving us and the help.
Yeah, and tell us about the reward money that's being offered now.
So we personally are donating $2,000 to the reward money. And then there's 4 or 5 different individuals at Lake Point that also have pitched in money. So we're at $32.50 right now in reward money, which is huge.
That is huge, and that will be given if an individual is arrested, correct?
Yes.
And what have police said? I know you said there's video surveillance that's being reviewed. There have been tips that have come in. Do you think police are close to solving this?
I personally do not. The detective that's working on it is out of the office until tomorrow, so we haven't heard anything since Friday. but the amount of information that we have passed on is crazy. Like I have detailed timestamps of everything. So all our information that we're passing on is huge. So hopefully with some of the stuff that we provided to him and them, they'll be able to find something or someone.
And I'm sure there has also been an outpouring of support since this happened. You mentioned that you've taken to social media to get the word out about it. Talk a little bit about, the good that has come from this and that outpouring of community support that you have received since you began posting about this.
I can't thank everyone enough for sharing my posts and liking my posts. The first post that I had made, I'm able to see the analytics of them, and the first video had over 216,000 views.
Wow.
Which, I mean, that's a lot of people for me just posting. So everyone has been so helpful.
And tell us more about the kids programming that this was raising money for in the first place.
We do. So there's a group of adults at our lake, and they plan things for the kids to do throughout the whole season. Our season is April to November. And they host a huge Halloween party where they have stilt walkers and Kona Ice comes and just tons of games for the kids. They have trick-or-treating, and then throughout the year they do magicians and animal shows and ice cream days and rock painting and just all sorts of little things for the kids to do. So that money was going towards all these activities, as well as we have a beach there, and they do things to improve the beach, add fountains, add more sand. So it's just things for the kids to benefit throughout the year.
Well, Heather, we do hope that someone comes forward. What would your message be to someone who knows something about this that could help solve it?
I say no tip is too small. So if anyone has seen something, seen the cart, heard someone talk about the cart, you could get in touch with us. We have many different ways. You could call me, you could text me, you could call the Wilmington Police Department, or we have a website, or on Facebook, you could get a hold of us.
And before I let you go, we saw a picture. There was a Win Me sign on the cart in green. The golf cart itself was blue. Is that the one that was stolen?
Yes. So there was two of them. They looked the exact same. One was lifted, so one was on taller tires, and one was just stock height, so regular tires, and that's the one that was taken, just the one on the regular tires.
And just final thoughts. Disturbing to think that the group that did it was likely monitoring, knew that the cart was there, and waited for, a moment to go in and remove it. You said there were members around. Was this in broad daylight?
It was 10:30 at night.
So it was dark.
We didn't have security.
Wow. Well, Heather, thank you so much for being with us. Anything else you want to share?
No, thank you for having us. And like I said, if anyone has heard or seen anything, please get in contact with us.
All right. Thank you so much. As Heather mentioned, the Wilmington Police Department is involved. If you do have any additional tips, send them their way. We do hope that someone comes forward and returns that golf cart. Stay with us here on Chicago Live. We are going to be chatting with one of the owners of Old Town Poorhouse. The business closed in Old Town last year, but they are reopening. We will chat with them about where their new location is and what else you need to know. We'll leave you on this picture here of Grant Park as cleanup gets underway after Lollapalooza closed out after 4 days of live music. Got pretty muddy there on Saturday in particular when the grounds were closed due to the rain for several hours, causing quite a few acts to be canceled. Stay right here on Chicago Live. We'll be back after the break.
Are you like...
Welcome back to Chicago Live. The time is now 3:40. We want to go over some of our top stories of the day. 2 people, unfortunately, have died in connection to the cyclospora outbreak in Michigan. Now, health officials say that the 2 individuals who died had underlying health conditions that were made worse by the parasite. They did say that those 2 individuals not only had those underlying health conditions, but that dehydration played a role as well. That outbreak is tied to lettuce stemming from Mexico that was at several Taco Bell restaurants in 5 states. But health officials say there could be other known causes as well. Alexi Janulius, Illinois Secretary of State, officially put his hat in the ring for Chicago mayor yesterday. He joins a growing field of candidates who are vying to lead the city, and he has a large fundraising pool as well of $22 million in that fundraising campaign fund. Mayor Brandon Johnson has yet to announce if he will seek re-election in this for this next term. That announcement we heard from Alderman Ray Lopez earlier, who said he does expect that the mayor will throw his hat in as well for this race. We are following several top stories, the 2 that I just mentioned, but also Kobe Bryant, safety, who was drafted to the Bears. Recently, he is out with an injury from Bears training camp, a knee injury that will apparently set him back for 8 to 10 weeks. Not out for the entire season, but certainly a setback. We want to bring in now our next guest, who is coming to us from Old Town Poorhouse. Exciting news, because Old Town Poorhouse did close in Old Town, but you guys are opening up again in a new location. Thank you so much for being with us. Really appreciate you joining us, and we are excited to talk a little bit about the new space. Angela, the CMO of Old Town Poorhouse, joining us now. So just tell us, where is the new location? Oh, I think you're muted, Angela.
You're right. Thank you.
Of course, no problem.
So our new location is at 120 North LaSalle. We are directly across from City Hall.
Directly across from City Hall. A lot of people were bummed when the prior location closed in Old Town. I think it was was that last summer already?
It was last January, actually, in 2025.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay, last January. So over a year ago.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about the new space and why the change in location.
Yeah, so we were actually approached from our landlord. We have the same landlord over at South Branch on the other side of the loop. So they approached us. They know what kind of operators we are, and the space was becoming available. And it seemed like a great time and a great fit to bring a beloved brand back to the city. So we were really excited when this opportunity came our way.
And what does the new space look like? You said it's across from City Hall. The other location was really, really massive. Talk a little bit about this space, and maybe a change of environment will do you good.
Yeah, definitely. So we did inherit the space at the bottom of the building here. It's very large as well. I guess there's something to that with our brand, and very kind of long and narrow, but quite a good amount of space for corporate happy hours. We have a lot of traffic down here for people who work down in the loop, who maybe gather for large events, business lunches, corporate happy hours. So it's very well set up for that. The tables are all movable, so if we have to push together or arrange an area for 20 or 50 guests or something like that, we can. So we've got a combination of low top, high top seating. We've got a bar that runs the length of the space. And of course, we've got the signature HD TVs that made the Old Town Poorhouse brand what it was up in Old Town.
When did you officially open, or are you preparing? Okay, it's today.
Yeah, we just opened at 11.
Congratulations. Talk a little bit about what customers can expect here during grand opening week.
Yeah, so today we had a little spin the wheel for all the guests that came out today for lunch. So you could win things like a free appetizer or a certain dollar amount off your lunch. We had gifts for the first 20 people. We had a little bit of a line out the door when we opened. So we gave gift bags for the first 20 guests we had. And then we've been handing out our Snickers pie shooters to people here down in the Loop. And if we will continue that, so if you tag your location on Instagram while you're here for the first week, you'll get a free Snickers pie as well.
Awesome. And what can we expect in terms of the menu? Is it the same as what, folks who went to the other location knew and loved, or are there new items?
Yeah, great question. A little bit of both. So we have a lot of the salads, handhelds, burgers, and bar bites that were favorites up in Old Town. But we also have some main dishes like a lemon salmon, fish and chips. So if you're looking for, a dinner, maybe post-theater, post-port, we have a main section. And we also have some bowls. So think like steak bowl, Thai chili noodle bowl. So we've got options for, like I said, lunch, happy hour, dinner. One of our signature items is our bacon cheeseburger. We serve it with this really thick hardwood smoked candied bacon, which is delicious. Everybody loves our bar bites. So our cheese curds with a smoked tomato coulis. We've got pretzel bites with a beer cheese sauce. And then we've got that signature Snickers pie and some great desserts as well to round everything out.
Oh my gosh, Snickers pie sounds so good. What would you say is the most popular item on the menu?
I would say probably that bacon cheeseburger is our most popular burger or handheld. The fish and chips entree is always a bestseller as well. People love that. And our pretzel bites, I think because they pair so well with beer and they're made with that beer cheese sauce. Those three are standouts for sure. I think our lemon salmon is a standout entree. So those are a few. Oh, and I cannot forget to mention our Kung Pao cauliflower.
Okay.
Is a shareable dish. That's a fan favorite at almost all of our restaurants.
Okay, nice. And we see either, I don't know if I'm looking at the reflection of City Hall or if that's behind you out the window, but we can visualize. Yeah, we can visualize the location. Do you expect a lunch rush is going to be your busiest based on where you are? You did also mention, though, because you're in the theater district there, that perhaps before or after shows.
Yeah, we're really used to heavy corporate crowds for lunch and happy hour at our other restaurant, South Branch, on the other side of the Loop, as well as Sweetwater on Michigan Avenue. So we're really well set up to handle the lunch rush and then again post-work kind of before the train. And then we are right around the corner from the Cadillac Palace Theater. So they do obviously a bunch of shows, some matinees. They have things this week. And then we're kitty corner from the Thompson Center where Google is moving their headquarters next year. Yeah, so we anticipate a lot of, kind of a mixed bag.
And tell us just what it takes that goes into opening a new space, not a brand new restaurant concept itself, but you said you inherited that space. I imagine there was a lot of work that had to go into getting the space ready, but also getting the team ready to come back.
Definitely. It's really a beautiful orchestration. It's chaotic, it's energetic, but we have teams from training and HR and IT and operations and marketing all working together for the weeks that we have the space to get it ready. And the training team does a 2-week kind of real intensive with the staff to get them ready with the menu. There's so many moving parts to opening a restaurant, and it really is quite magical to see it all come together. So we really are energized by that. We actually have a few employees that came back to us after working with us up in Old Town. We have a bartender who worked with us when we had Howells and Hood in the bottom of the Tribune Tower. So it's really heartening to see some of these employees come back after many years and find us again in this space.
Absolutely. And tell us a little bit more about some of your other restaurant concepts at Bottleneck.
Sure. So we have Sweetwater Tavern and Grill is on Michigan Avenue, just south of the Chicago River. Casual American dining, full service, right in the heart of the Loop, a large patio on Michigan Avenue, north of Grant Park. And then we have South Branch Tavern and Grill. That's on the South Branch of the Chicago River. Kitty corner from the train station, so really great spot to stop before you head home. And then this will be our Loop location here. And then we've got some other restaurants out in the suburbs, CityWorks Eatery and Poorhouse.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being with us. What else are you guys planning for the fall? Obviously, football season's around the corner. Halloween, I'm sure, is a big one for you all. Talk about what comes next this fall.
Yeah. So football and sports are really our bread and butter. We did add a bunch of HD TVs to the space. We really kind of pride ourselves on being a energetic, really fun place to watch sporting events. We're really well set up for it. There's not a bad seat in the house, and we just keep the fun for all of those sporting events. So definitely leaning into football season. We're gonna have happy hour here Monday through Friday. So we'll have $10 bar bites. We will have $6 domestic drafts with a focus on our local craft beer producers. So a lot of fun in store. We anticipate hosting a lot of corporate. Like I said, corporate happy hours, semi-private gatherings. We're really experts at executing those at this point. So we're looking for a lot of fun here in the Loop.
All right. Thank you so much for being with us, Angela. Great to chat with you. And we wish you luck in that new space. Perhaps you'll have some of the city's politicians stopping in.
We think so. We have had them today. So yes, we expect to see more.
Okay, good. A lunch break for them.
Right.
All right. Thank you so much, Angela. Well, thank you all for being with us here on Chicago Live. We still have just a few minutes left to go over some of the conversations that we had. We spoke with an astrophysicist early on in the show from the Adler Planetarium, who shares that there is a piece of debris that has come off of a SpaceX rocket, and it is on its way to striking the surface of the moon. That is going to happen around 2:30 in the morning this Wednesday. So Wednesday, we'll wake up, and this will likely have already impacted the surface of the moon. What'll happen is he described that it will create essentially a new crater in the moon that could be as big as 100 feet wide. This piece of debris is traveling at roughly 5,000 miles per hour. And what happened is that this was total accident. A piece of the rocket fell off after its mission had already been completed. You know, there are things kind of floating around out there in space. So it is now on its way to the moon. So that is going to hit around 2:30 on Wednesday morning. We will be sure to bring you the latest on that situation. But he did say, this could be an issue down the road as space travel progresses. He said it's really not an issue right now, but if, let's say, we were traveling to the moon and that you had to deal with astronauts essentially dodging this piece of debris, think to future years, that could become complicated. Let's take a quick look now at the stocks. We want to bring up this graph here. Let's take a look here. We're waiting on that to come up. Bear with us here. Shifting things over from our digital studio upstairs to our control room downstairs. We'll bring you those stocks when we have it. There we go. Market is up today about 693 points. Things are looking good there on the stock exchange, up about 1.3%. And then one final check, if we still have it, at the Lindsay Clancy trial out of Massachusetts. We don't have that. I just learned from my producer. Lindsay Clancy is accused of strangling her 3 young children out in Massachusetts. Her defense is claiming that she was in a state of postpartum psychosis at the time. The trial began early last week. We've heard from her husband. We've heard from psychiatrists, doctors, and most recently today, a detective who worked for the DA's office at the time of the incident. We're sure we will have another check of that tomorrow when we see you again here on Chicago Live. One other recap that I want to bring to you is what's happening out in Aurora this week. It's the Adaptive Baseball World Series that is being hosted by the National Beep Baseball Association. We had President Richie Flores on earlier today, and you'll hear from him again coming up at 5 o'clock. But the World Series is unfolding in Aurora starting today. It runs through Saturday. It's being held at the Stewart Sports Complex in Aurora. you can head out and watch it for yourself. You can also follow the different games on their YouTube channel. But this is for visually impaired athletes who are part of different baseball leagues. It's in 14 states right now and expanding. Chicago has its own team, and this was actually created here in Chicago 50 years ago. So it is a big anniversary that is being celebrated this week. And of course, they had to come back to their roots, back to Chicago, for the 50th year edition of the World Series. Again, we'll have another look at that coming up at 5 o'clock. Finally, let's take one more look out, if we still have it, at Grant Park, at all the mud that is left over from Lollapalooza. It is going to cost hundreds of thousands of dollars to fix this, but they are pros. It happens frequently. You know, we've had this before, where things get rainy, they get muddy, and of course you essentially end up with these mud pits. You can see there those pickleball courts and tennis courts that look pristine. Those were unscathed in all of this, but just across the way there you see just those baseball diamonds and then all of that mud. So crews are hard at work right now, taking down all of the final equipment and completing the road closure takedown, though some road closures will be up through this week into the weekend, so be mindful of that. We do have numbers from the city on arrests. I'll go day by day here. 18 ambulance transports on day one of the festival, 4 arrests. 22 ambulance transports on Friday, 3 arrests. 16 ambulance transports on Saturday, and also 3 arrests. And then on Sunday, 11 ambulance transports. You know, we always warn with the heat, with dehydration, you know, always people do end up sadly at the medical tent. And unfortunately, there is, as we know, drug and alcohol use. We spoke with a doctor on Chicago Live last week, just to preview, you know, how to be safe during large festivals like this. And Lollapalooza isn't the last big event that's happening. We've got the Chicago Air and Water Show coming up in just about a week and a half. So practice for that will be getting underway soon. And then, of course, Riot Fest typically takes place in September. So we have all those to look forward to. Thank you for being with us here on Chicago Live. We'll send things now back over to the studio downstairs, where the news at 4 will be getting underway momentarily.
Live from Chicago, this is Fox 32 News at 4.
So much to catch up on. The Bears' biggest offseason move is out for weeks. What does this mean for training camp and beyond?
The nationwide cyclosporal outbreak turning close.